Hospital Porter's pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Hapanmo TV and welcome to this new video I've done, which I have is the first one I've done for almost a week, which again, like beforehand, it disturbs me when that happens. But again, I just haven't had the chance to put photons onto celluloid for a while. This is to do with a lot was going on last weekend. Then on Monday I had Third Rail Radio. On Tuesday, what was I doing on Tuesday? I can't remember. Wednesday, I was too tired. Yesterday, I was doing the Hapanmo show, so I didn't get to do my midweek video. Normally, I do videos that you may have noticed. Generally, it's like midweek or usually sort of midweek or weekends is when I tend to do them. I skipped the midweek one, so now it's Friday. But I finished work early today, so I can get this done early, which is nice. And this is one I've been meaning to do one of these for a while. It's yet another reply to Steve Mumbling. Now, it's been a while. When did I last do a reply video to Steve Mumbling? It's actually over a year ago, the 11th of March 2024. Yeah, it's quite a while since I last put photons onto celluloid for our Steve. But that great Australian chuckling, throat-clearing skeptic has done it again. He's inspired me and encouraged me and provoked me into a reply video, yes. So let's have a look at what he has to say. So I'm going to choose this one now because I think I normally go for, when it comes to screen sharing, I normally use this method where I'm the little small one and the person in the middle is big. But I'm going to choose this one instead because I think it's better if I'm the one who looks bigger than Steve, isn't it? Because, you know, which do you prefer looking at, me or Steve? Exactly. So I'm going to explore two videos that he's done, and there are links in the description box to that. This is the first one. It's called New Bob Lazar Documentary, LOL. Ryan Graves and Jake Barber want your money. Right. Let's see what he has to say. So now I'm going to put this on.
Well, hello again.
This on 1.5 speed for two reasons. Firstly, it saves time because, you know, he rambles an awful lot, does Steve? He rambles a hell of a lot. So for one reason, it saves time. Second reason, it's really funny. Listening to him chuckling and giggling at 1.5 times speed is actually quite amusing. So that's another reason. Let's hear what he has to say.
Again, I've seen a reasonable amount of piffle being peddled this week, so I thought it was worth doing a video. Set the timer. We want it to go in 30 minutes. Now, it's was it the 6th, Sunday, the 6th of April, 2025. It's about 12:30, around midday, which is why I'm in a lot of shadow because the sun is pretty much up.
Oh, God, it's your winter, isn't it? It's winter for you. I remember when I went to Australia myself. The seasons are all reversed. I went in November to December, and it was really hot there. And I came back and I got off the plane, and I couldn't believe it. I had to get my jacket out. Oh, God, it's so cold.
Up there. Thank goodness.
What's so funny about that?
Yeah, so what have I seen this week? There's a new Bob Lazar movie out. You know, the guy that wants to keep out of the limelight. He's got another documentary.
Is there? A new Bob Lazar? I mean, I'll just have a look at this quickly. Just see if I can find it. 1 second. I'm just going to leave screen sharing just for a moment. I'm going to see if I can find this new Bob Lazar documentary. Let's have a look. Bob documentary. Let's have a look. What we got here? I don't see it here. Let's have a look, shall we? I'll use this one for this one. Bob was 9 months ago. Area 51 Mystery Bob Lazar documentary 2025. The last one I've heard was the James Fox one. Or was it? Who was it? Was Jeremy Corbell or James Fox? Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. That's the one. The worst documentary on Netflix, this person said. I thought it was actually quite good. If you remember, I actually reviewed it, didn't I? Did I review it? Let's have a look. Yeah, I think I did review it. Bob Lazar movie live stream. There you go. That's it. That's where we saw it, didn't we? Yeah. I think that's the one. Definitely. Right, where was I? Okay, so what's this new Bob Lazar? S4, is this the one? The Bob Lazar story. I won't play it because I'll probably get a copyright strike, but let's just see. I'll go to Google and see what I can find out about it because I've not heard of this. I want to see it if it's there. S4 Bob Lazar documentary. Let's see what it's. I'm curious if Steve's got it. Is this sort of the incredible true story of Bob Lazar? S4, the official Bob Lazar story, releasing summer 2025. Oh, actually, I think I have actually
It's now
seen
free
that.
to sell.
Project Gravator. Yes, I have heard of this. Yeah, I won't play much of this because even for movie trailers, you get copyright strikes. Here we go. Yeah.
In December of 19 projects as Area 51.
People are catching on that what Bob.
Yes. Oh, you can see. Look, I've clicked a thumb up on it here, so there you are. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually Steve. Yes, there's a new Bob Lazar documentary, but I'm actually quite looking forward to it. So we'll see what it's like anyway. But anyway, carry on, old son. What's next?
You got another movie out. It's called S4, the Bob Lazar story.
Oh, yes, I should have let this play on a bit longer, and you tell me what the title was. It would save all that searching. Yes, I have heard of it. I didn't think I had, but I have. I think it's ages ago they first put the title out, so I do. If it's going to be released this summer, I look forward to seeing that.
I bet it doesn't mention Kirk Meyer, or the fact that he was a technician for radiation monitoring devices. That's why he's on the in the telephone book at Los Alamos. You know, if you look at it, Bob Lazar, KM, Kirk Meyer, technician, not a physicist.
Oh, I know that. Yes, he's listed as a physicist, but according to Bob Lazar, he's listed as a technician. Yeah, he did work for Los Alamos, and this is why you have like the pay slip and tax code. However, he claims that all his records were removed. His qualifications and records were removed. I mean, to be honest, Steve, I'm not 100% sure Bob Lazar's for real either. I mean, I keep sort of vacillating a little bit. I think maybe it is wishful thinking in a way, but there are problems with his account. I admit that.
Yeah, and yeah, he's Bob Lazar is, of course, another fake whistleblower. He won't talk to Arrow. He said as soon as Arrow was set up, he said he wasn't interested in talking to Arrow, and it's for the same reason none of the other fake whistleblowers are remotely interested in talking to Arrow, because they know as soon as they do, their stories will be looked into and they'll be dismissed as science fiction rubbish.
Well, if you saw the latest information on I mean, I think I mentioned this, didn't I, in the last UFO disclosure video? Sean Kirkpatrick apparently was read in and was apparently like dismissing things out of hand, just like what was the guy that J. Allen Hynek accused? Not Repelt. Repelt was on his side, the last one.
And that's why Bob Lazar doesn't want to know anything about talking to Arrow. Now, if Bob Lazar and these
I had no idea you had such a high opinion of Arrow, Steve. I thought you were thinking Arrow was a waste of time. I think you called it, what was it you called it? White elephant, waster of taxpayers' money to looking into something that doesn't exist.
Whistleblowers were in fact for real, they would be knocking Arrow's door down to get their stories verified. You know?
Not necessarily. I mean, if you look at the criticism Arrow has gathered, it's very similar to the criticism J. Allen Hynek leveled at Project Blue Book many years ago. Because Hynek went into it as a skeptic. He was radicalized as simply from pressure of evidence and information alone. The evidence you say doesn't exist. And then once he realized that there was something real to the UFO phenomenon, and he started working with that particular premise, immediately he suddenly started, obstacles were put in his way. He was told that you just write the reports and close cases, as it said in the TV series.
Bob Lazar. If I was Bob Lazar, I'd be saying, look, everybody's saying, they're discrediting my educational background with good reason. They're all saying it's all bullshit. I made it all up. Can you please verify my story, John Kozlowski? Please. That's what would really be happening. Grush would be saying, all these people would be saying the same thing. Please, Arrow, verify what I'm telling you, because people think I'm
oh, yes, I'll come on to Grush, because a lot's happened since you made this video. Should be quite amusing.
Bullshitter. And of course they won't do that because they are bullshitters. None of it is real.
No, it is real.
That out very quickly. That's why they don't want to know anything about Arrow. So, hang on. Head here. I remember that bit, so I've sort of gone over a page and a bit. So yeah, Bob Lazar would love to be able to rub everyone's noses in it and say "told you so." And the only way he can do that is by getting his story verified by Arrow.
No, you don't. You see, I've just explained. Maybe Arrow is not there. But Arrow is a product of the it's gone through various permutations since the Obama years. Started off as ATIP, then it was AIM-SOG, then it was something else, then it became Arrow. It switched from various departments and things like that. Arrow, I think they're gatekeepers. I mean, you look at the last couple of hearings they did. The last one with Kirkpatrick and people. It was pathetic. It was awful. Just like NASA's independent group. So no, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go to, if I was an insider and I wanted to get my story verified. I wouldn't go to Arrow first. I'd probably approach. To be honest, if I was a whistleblower coming and I wanted to go public, I would probably approach somebody. I mean, in all modesty, I'd probably approach someone like me, a UFO enthusiast, shall we say, but not someone high up there who's motivated by expense, or is they doing it for a living. Someone with a wide reach and a large impact, and with lots and lots of people that watch them, but who really is kind of like someone who's just doing it for the love of it. I would be the kind of person I would approach.
He won't do that because he knows Arrow can't possibly verify it.
Of course, they're not going to verify it. They're not going to verify it because they're gatekeepers.
Bob Lazar's a fantasist.
Well, the late great Stanton Friedman never believed him, and he might be. I mean, as I said, we'll see.
So why do you think? Bob Lazar said he was a physicist. That his qualifications can't be verified. He's not in any of the university yearbooks. He was done for pandering, and he gave his occupation as a self-employed photo processor. And since his claim stint at S4, he has never worked as a physicist for anyone else. No one's hired him as a physicist.
No, but he runs his own company called I forgot what it's called now. But it's like he does materials and chemistry and things like that at this company.
Work for himself, selling little bits of nuclear material, this, that, and the other. You don't need to be a nuclear physicist to do that. So why do you think he has never worked as a physicist for anyone else after his claimed stint at S4? It's because he's not a physicist. Stanton Friedman, one of my favourite frauds, he said,
"You leave Stan alone. Stan was a gentleman and a scholar, and we don't think what you disagree with him if you like, but you can't question his integrity and his honesty. He really, really wanted to get to the truth, and that's what motivated him. He was a physicist, that guy. He worked in nuclear power programs of various kinds."
In the UFO business, they're all frauds. No. He said that now Stanton Friedman.
No, we're not frauds, but you just disagree with us. Doesn't mean we're frauds.
Was a real physicist. He didn't have a PhD, but he had a master's. Okay, he worked in nuclear physics. And whenever him and Bob Lazar were at one of these UFO conferences together and they were giving talks, he always tried to pin Bob Lazar down so he could have a chat with him, and Lazar would not sit down with him. Stanton Friedman said Bob Lazar is no physicist. He knew that Bob Lazar knew he couldn't sit down with a real physicist and talk physics.
Well, obviously, like if you're talking, obviously Stan would use a lot of like technical language, and someone who wasn't qualified would not understand that. However, Richard D. Hall, listening to Bob Lazar, did think that Lazar had some kind of scientific training. And he did.
That's why he always used to run away from Stanton Friedman, just like he's running away from Arrow, because it's all bullshit.
It's hard. It's not exactly the same situation, though, Steve, is it?
Even our old mate Eric Davis, that used to say he's working on all this stuff, now suddenly he's saying, well, he's only been told that he's coming here because he thinks he might get subpoenaed.
Well, I've not actually watched the latest hearing with Eric Davis. I haven't had time. Along with everything else, I just haven't had time to do it.
Peddling Dr. Davis, he said Bob Lazar made up the whole cockamamie story. They're Eric Davis's actual words. Bob Lazar made up the whole cockamamie story. And I'll leave a link below to an article that you can read if you like, where Eric Davis is explaining it. And he says that he knew people that worked there. He knew who knew Bob Lazar's supervisor, and he was a technician working on radiation monitoring devices. Radiation monitoring, wherever you pin it. So Bob Lazar, not a physicist, not working on alien spacecraft. If you look into Bob Lazar's background, it becomes obvious very quickly that he's no physicist. The S4 story, Bob Lazar's alien spacecraft story, is all science fiction rubbish. That's the bottom line. Don't waste your time with Bob Lazar.
Oh, you could have said all that like in about 10 seconds rather than taking like 2 minutes. This another reason why I have to put this on. I have to like increase the play speed because Steve rambles and he repeats so much. He's worse than Stephen Molyneux. He keeps he'll repeat the same point over and over again, using different metaphors and different words like fraud, piffle, bullshit, etc. He'll put these words in different orders, but he's saying the same thing over and over again.
Or any of these bloody piffle peddlers.
Piffle peddlers.
So Ryan
It's a
Graves is
steaming pile.
he's got the begging bowl out for another another UAP non-profit.
A non-profit. You don't have a begging bowl out for a non-profit, Steve, because he doesn't get any money. Right? Ryan is really, really cool. Ryan is a real hero in all this. He is. He set up this Air Safety Bureau because there is, those of you who saw or listened to my Panmo Radio interview with Todd Curtis will know that the air safety angle is actually a vital, practical way of getting to the truth. I've also just those of you who read UFO Truth magazine will know that I just had an article in there about this same subject. And as I explained, when you consider the prevalence of UAP in our skies and the implications of what they do, like in that scene from Close Encounters when they're in the air traffic control room, and the potential dangers and even the possibility that aircraft have been damaged, crashed, disappeared, as in the case of MH370, you'll know that there is actually a major risk assessment that needs to be done here. And people who deny the existence of this phenomenon and have anything to do with airline safety or civil aviation have some major explaining to do.
We need your money. We need your money. Send us
What it's to fund. It's not for him. It's to fund the project he's working on.
money so we can research this. We can push for disclosure. Well, there's nothing to disclose. He's pushing, I think, the air safety angle of it, but never in the history of human flight has any kind of aircraft ever been brought down by an alien spacecraft.
Let me start giving you examples. Thomas Mantell, Fred Valentich, MH370. Now, I know Ashton Forbes believes that this is actually human technology, the three orbs flying around the plane like that, they circle around it and it goes, then you get this big flash of light that the plane vanishes. I've done so many. I've done about 4 videos on that, which you can find on my channel. I've even got a portal. I've got an MH370 portal. I'm still on screen share, aren't I? Yeah, where is it? I've got my UFO disclosure one open at the moment. I've actually got an MH370 portal, which is here. Yeah, so all my stuff is at least 4 videos on this subject. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos actually, where I discuss this. But the fact of the matter is, I think it's far more likely that what attacked MH370 was extraterrestrial, and that's quite worrying when you think that, because that ET's spacecraft are often reported to appear and disappear, almost as if they're coming in and out of this universe at will. If they can make our own aircraft disappear and move in and out of this universe, then that's worrying. I mean, as you know, as I've been saying for quite a long time now, in a few days, I am going to be taking a long plane flight when I go to Contact, and I have to fly all the way there and all the way back again. And that concerns me. It concerns me a lot. And of course, anyway, I'm on the wrong video. Here we go. That's the next video I'm going to look into.
So remember, these not-for-profit organisations pay their executives and their employees good salaries. That's your money.
No, a basic salary. There's administration fees, which does sometimes include full-time staff. I don't know specifically if Ryan is one of those full-time staff or not, but some of them do employ people. Yeah, but that's just part of the expense. That's not profit. That's simply overhead, Steve.
It might the CEO, might be getting $400,000 a year in this non-profit organisation.
Do you really think that Ryan Graves is going to set up a UAP research group? And then earn enough money to pay himself or someone else $400,000? Because, Steve, that is a complete hyperbole. It's an exaggeration. It's unfair, and it's a misrepresentation.
More money. You're sitting there with a big fat cigar laughing at you.
Honestly, Steve, if there's other ways of doing this, you could get into dodgy double glazing or rusty engine blocks and things like that. There's all kinds of scams you can use to make money. All kinds. Why would someone go and set up an organization about something that still the minority, only a minority of people believe in it enough to take seriously to the point where they'll part with cash? It's on terms of criminal masterminds, it's probably minus. It's probably in the minus figures, -2 or 3 on a scale of 1 to 10. The Brinks Mac gang will be up here in the tens, and This would be -4 or 5 for Ryan Graves. He's got more intelligence than that. He was a U.S. Navy pilot. They don't let idiots do that job.
Don't put money into these not-for-profits looking for disclosure and ETs, because there is.
I have not put money into Ryan Graves' non-profit. I have put money into some of the others. I've donated to some of the others, including, as you know now, I'm a member of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, and I have to pay like a subsidy for that. And I'm glad I do. I think that's good. That is actually worthwhile. But I mean, I don't give them a king's ransom. It's actually very, very cheap. It's much less than what you'd pay for, say, Sky TV or a season ticket for a football club. It's far less than that.
Nothing there. There's nothing to disclose. You're
Yes,
wasting
there
your
is.
money. You might as well pile it up in the garden and torch it.
No, Steve, you're wrong.
You're going to get nothing for it. So, it's just like the free energy scams. They'll.
Well, some of them are. All right, some of the free energy scams are scams, but not all.
Yeah, they'll produce a theatrical prop, like a little box that you can't examine, of course. Be a string of light bulbs on it, and they'll tell you it's free energy.
That'd be like the Orbo thing, yeah. But the Orbo, I mean, what happened with that? You see, the thing is, the Orbo thing. This was from Ireland. A company called Steorn set up a free energy research project. I remember because I was a member of their forum. It all went. The David Icke forum got really, really interested in this, and it was looking hopeful for a while, but then it went quiet, and a lot of people were saying, well, it's obviously it was obviously a fraud. It was obviously a confidence trick, and they made a lot of money and then buggered off. Well, first they didn't make much money. Steorn was a technology company of some kind based in Dublin, which had a healthy, lucrative business doing perfectly normal science, rather like Bob Lazar's company that does normal science. It decided to invest in this free energy project, and it all went quiet. I mean, in my view, they were probably threatened. They may well have been threatened or sabotaged, like so many others, like the cold fusion research project, Pons and Fleischmann, like Eugene Malov, Stanley Mayer, etc. There's ways and means of closing these things down. Sometimes violently, sometimes non-violently.
Somehow harnessing the energy that's all around us to light up these light bulbs. And they either need more of your money so they can scale it up for a commercial application, or they're right on the cusp of a significant breakthrough that's going to bring free energy to the world. They just need another $1 million.
Well, I've just answered that.
They just need more money. And that's all it is.
There are some I'm suspicious of. There's a certain muscle-bound head turner from a humble country doctor from North Carolina who I wouldn't donate money to, and in terms of his various free energy projects. TTSA seems, I mean, what's going on there? I mean, I don't know what's going on there.
Way of getting money, and they'll just make a theatrical prop so they can film it and put it on YouTube or wherever. So this is the research we're doing. We're actually spending money on research. And of course, it's nonsense, It's just like that ridiculous anti-gravity thing that UFO Joe demonstrated to Brendan Fugel and that little crowd of people there. That whirring thing that looked like he got it straight from the set of the engine room of the movie Event Horizon.
Oh, right. I don't remember that. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the details.
Pathetic. Hal Puthoff's in the background, bouncing up and down with excitement, Brendan Fugel was there because he needed to be milked. They needed more money. Nothing come of that because it's science fiction rubbish.
Brendan Fugel is now focusing on Skinwalker Ranch, which he owns now.
And Brendan Fugel was fleeced, and now he knows that. He's also been fleeced with Skinwalker Ranch. It's all complete and utter rubbish.
No, he's not. No, he's not at all.
So, just don't put money into these not-for-profits or anything to do with free energy or ET disclosure. Because none of it.
I would recommend supporting some of them. I mean, don't put them into any of them. I've never given money to TTSA. I've never given money to Greer. I don't trust all of them. But the Paradigm Research Group, Danny Sheehan's organisation, was it the Disclosure Fund, Hollywood Disclosure Alliance? I would support those. I would support those financially. I think they're honest organisations. I'm a member of one. I'm on the board of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. So I've shown you my picture on their rogues gallery. So yeah,
really, there's no such thing as free energy. As I said before, if there was, Musk would know all about it. Musk would be selling the devices for your house.
Oh, Steve,
free energy is all around us.
Steve, honestly, let me just check. I've got to go to my notes here. All right, yeah, because I want to go into some of these things now. Did Steve mention that you mentioned the disclosure hearing being cancelled? Right. This is the what now? What's I've got this in my notes. I don't remember hearing him. I don't remember him saying it in the video, but he did mention the situation with the skiff being. Now, what happened was, okay, there was going to be a schedule. First of all, there was going to be a skiff where David Grush and Anna Paulina Luna and various other people would Tim Burchett and who else was there? Jared Moskowitz and a couple of other the pro UFO disclosure Congress people would go into the skiff with Grush. Now, Grush didn't turn up. I think maybe Steve will mention that, and I haven't mentioned it yet. But the reason is he couldn't make it. Now, I don't know what the reason is, but this is what's thrown the schedule out of. This is why the hearing's been cancelled. There was going to be a hearing later this month, which has been postponed. It's not been cancelled. It's been postponed because the schedule has fallen behind. That's all that's happened. It's a delay. Now, Steve, if you're waiting at a railway station and the announcer says, "I'm sorry, but your train to Perth is delayed by approximately 15 minutes," right? Do you sort of sit there and say, "Oh, obviously trains don't exist. It's a fantasy. It's piffle peddling. There's no such thing as trains, right? It's a steaming pile." Do you do that, Steve? Because if not, you've got to explain why not. Anyway, because that's the equivalent of what we're saying. So let's go back to Steve.
Power we can actually use, in Australia, 240-volt mains, 50 cycle mains, and that would have,
All right, he's now saying, well, now he's going on to this. Well, why doesn't Elon Musk just put this free energy in everyone's house? Oh, Steve, I've answered this before. I've answered this point so many times because there's a conspiracy to stop people using it. That's why Elon, even if he knows anything about it, he doesn't have the ability to use it safely without ending up in a car crash or something himself. It's partly the oil industry, partly geopolitics. I mean, my entire book, Roswell Rising, a novel of disclosure, is all about that. I mean, should I read it again? I'll just read the key part where is the key bit? There's a part where oh dear, hang on. Where is it? Where's that famous scene? Oh, here it is. I found it. Yeah. He says here, he said never. He says there'll never be, because Klain asks Gerald, these two characters are having a conversation, and Klain says, one of the characters says to the other Gerald, says, when are we going to see this gear released for public development? And Gerald says, silence. And and why not? And Gerald says, well, why don't I turn that question on its head and ask you? Why should they? How can we tell them? Easily. Klain was frowning in disbelief. We just announce it. Easily, said Gerald. Right, so did you plan to knock on the door of the chairman of Royal Dutch Shell and say, good morning, I just come to tell you your services are no longer required, just like that? Klain nodded. He makes that speech you're familiar with about the candles, the joke I make about candles. You don't get it, do you, Klain? Oil is not the biggest industry in the world. It is industry. It's the lifeblood and the lubricant of civilization. Take that away, and what happens? The world order as we know it will descend into chaos. The West will fall into mediocrity. India and China will dominate the globe with their huge populations and vast resources. Energy needs to be rationed and distributed strategically in order to maintain a stable human world. That's it. Where is it now? He goes, yeah. That's well. There's more. I mean, the conversation goes on into more detail, but that's the basis of it. So, Steve, I mean, I have explained this to you. I've talked to you about this before, and either you are completely naive or you're just ignoring me deliberately.
Tesla free energy device on it, something like that, and you would have to buy that or rent it.
It wouldn't cost me. It would cost about £80. £80, a little box you put in your house. Fuels your house forever. No moving parts, very low maintenance costs. Yeah, they're really going to do that, are they? They're really going to say, rip up your gas bills, everyone. Rip up your increasing electric power. You're all free. Oh, the government really want us to be. The government want us in a position where we're dependent on them, where they can ration out, they can dish out the kilowatt hours, and we pay through the nose for them. It's was it David Icke puts it: scarcity equals dependency equals control. Abundance equals freedom. It's that's how it happens. That's why we don't get this free energy. This is why we don't have this technology available to us in the public arena. This is why it's sequestered by the breakaway civilization.
For you, no such thing as free energy.
Yes, there is.
Musk will be right on that bandwagon. So beware of these props that these people come up with.
I'm wearing some of them.
These theatrical props designed entirely to get your money. Jake Barber apparently has dropped the psionics name for what his gay left-handed telepaths do.
I never heard the word psionics till he said it. Yeah, but the gay left-handed telepath. I mean, that was that idea that homosexuality and left-handedness makes you more psychic, or you're more likely to be psychic if you have those things. I don't know. I mean, if that's anyway.
Ross Coulthard is not surprised that he's dropped the name psionics.
Well, it was just a name that it seemed to be some kind of buzzword that he invented. But we know what we're talking about. We're talking about influences directly through the mind, through telepathy and telekinesis and things like that, which many contactees of extraterrestrial intelligence actually report.
No matter what you call it, does it? It's rubbish. It's completely.
It's not rubbish. Just watch Third Eye Spies.
He's now trying to distance himself. Oh, no, he's not actually. No, he's not trying to distance himself from this summoning ET twaddle. They just call it something else. No, it's... now he's using an electromechanical dog whistle.
Oh, that, yeah.
To summon these alien craft. And he's not using psionics anymore.
This is actually the dog whistle thing. It's actually a part of the dog whistling. It's actually something a bit like the CE5 protocols. I haven't looked at it in detail, but I know that he and his group that he set up, they call themselves the Skywatchers. That's just simply their name. Ross has been covering them on News Nation, and they've been putting out messages into the sky to try and get aliens to acknowledge them. And I mean, it is a method that can actually work. I mean, this is not the first time that this has been attempted. You actually deliberately try to encourage UFOs to appear through transmissions. I mean, this is what, for example, orgone energy does with cloud busting. That actually brings UFOs in. This sort of thing has been done before.
Anymore. He calls it something else. He's trying to distance himself from the term psionics, and he's calling it something else, but it's still summoning alien spacecraft. Now, the psionic part is now called meditative interaction. Neuro-meditative interaction. They're not psionics anymore. I reckon it's the same thing. It would have been easier just to keep calling it psionics, really, wouldn't it? It's a lot easier to say. It's a lot easier to say this psionic stuff is a lot of rubbish than this neuro-meditative interaction is a load of rubbish.
Shorten it to NMI.
Either way, it's a load of rubbish. No one is summoning alien spacecraft. Telepathically summoning alien spacecraft. The arrogance of that, They're going to fly around the galaxy, and not only when they come and look at Earth are they right above where you happen to be sitting in your lawn chair out in the desert, but they're just waiting there for you to summon them.
Well, they're not, but I mean, they are drawn. They have a presence here. Yes, they fly from very, very distant locations in this universe, maybe beyond, but they come here and they have a permanent presence here. I mean, and they have done for as long as anyone can remember. So it's not like they fly all this way and then they just hang around waiting for us to summon them. They're here already.
So Barber tells us his outfit Skywatcher now has 6 levels of data collection, or 6 levels of investigation. Now, number 1 is preliminary observation. That's where he takes his gay left-handed, whatever you call them these days, telepathically summoning alien spacecraft out in the desert with a few people, and they should see bright lights moving around in the sky. They never come close, they're always in the distance. So he's probably got his mates out there flying some drones around with some very bright LEDs on. And of course, there's now 6,000 Starlink satellites in low Earth orbit. So on a clear night, you're always going to see Starlink satellites going over. Are they using Starlink satellites as a prop? Look at this. Get your checkbooks out, everyone. There it is. My gay friend here, gay left-handed friend, is telepathically summoning these very high up, of course. You can't summon them to sort of come and land and say hello. No, can't do that. But he can summon them to fly over.
All right, you know what? I'm watching the wrong video. This was not the video I originally planned on watching. So I'm going to. Anyway, I've watched an extra video there anyway. So that's it. Well, I was actually planning on what I planned to do was watch this one, this lunar. This is why I talked about Anna Paulina Luna there. And then I was going to move on to this other one, which I will do. So no disclosure. So there you are. That's the one we'll go to next. I think I'll drop this Bob Lazar documentary one. Otherwise, this video is going to be too long. All right, we're back again. I'll just well, you've got a bit of extra material, but I will come on to the video I meant to come on to. Let's just have a look through the comments underneath Steve's video. Now, some of these people. Well, David Smith comments a lot. His comments are actually not as witty or as interesting as the ones he leaves on my channel. He just seems to agree with Steve in various sarcastic and rather ironic ways. Bob Lazar, yes, I remember working in Area 51. The washroom basin was an off-shade white. The taps on the left sink required 2 3/5 of a turn. But still sufficient water pressure was washing my hands to which was achieved. What's that? Who were some of my classmates when I got my degree? I have a headache. Bye. So that's just he's making the point that Steve made. I suppose I kind of agree with him. And there's other people there. Now some of these people are Bloggerty Schmooze there. Oh, hello, Bloggerty. I didn't know you were back on the scene. Come over to my channel, Bloggerty. I miss you. But there's others I think I don't recognise. Sorenable, hello, Sorenable. Again, come over to my channel, Sorenable. Rick Sampson, I think I recognise. Some of these, occasionally you get like people I'm sure are members of Team Droik on here. Oh, sorry, you couldn't see that, could you? I'll show you. This is it. Yeah, here you go. Well, here you go. I can show you the comment. I can show you the comments now. But there's David Smith's comments. Here's David Smith's comment there, you see. Sorenable's there. Bloggerty Schmoo, another from David. Some of these people I think are Droik trolls. They pop over every now and again. I can't tell, of course, but you know what they're like. They guard their anonymity. Anyway, let's go on to this one. That's that one over with. So let's get on to, where are we now? Let's go on to, this is the one, Luna's, this is the one I wanted you to see. Luna's 16th May UAP declassification hearing canned and people bailing out of the UAP disclosure fund. Right, now this is the one I wanted to show you, and I will, and we'll watch that now. Again, I'm going to watch it at 1.5 speed so we can like just hurry Steve along.
Oh, hello again. Sunday afternoon, the 11th of May, 2025. It's actually 20 minutes past 4 in the afternoon. I've been fairly busy this weekend. I didn't think I was going to get time to make a video, but I thought a couple of interesting things.
Strategic arms limitation talks going ahead that couldn't manage without you, Steve. Is that it, or were you channeling the ghost of James Randi?
So, I really thought that a video needed to be made.
I actually feel uncomfortable if I don't attend to my channel at least once a week. I mean, I try to do one more frequently, at least twice a week. I'm trying to upload something.
Set the timer, right.
Oh,
so Luna.
He's down. Yeah, he's down to half an hour. So he just 29 minutes 18 seconds.
UAP disclosure hearing on the 16th of May, that's next Friday, has been cancelled. Now I don't know, just like the skiff, David Grush had the opportunity to tell them all this classified information that he's been bottling up. He just couldn't wait to tell everybody about it, even though he could tell Arrow about it at any time. But he had, is that the time? Sorry, I can't make it.
No, we don't know. I mean, I've already addressed this because Steve was, it's in my notes. I've already addressed this because Steve actually brought this up. I brought it up thinking I'd skipped it because I thought I was watching a different video. But we don't actually know why the skiff was. We don't know exactly why David Grush couldn't make it. Now, Steve's making excuses here. He's making assumptions in a rather snide manner that, oh, he had better things to do or something like that. The truth of the matter is there could be many reasons for it. I mean, the fact that the hearing has been cancelled for this month, it was supposed to happen, I think, this week. The reason it's been cancelled, of course, is because the skiff was cancelled, because the schedule was the skiff was to happen, and a couple of weeks later, then there was to be the hearing. Now, of course, until the skiff resumes, and I believe it has, then there'll be another hearing. So the hearing will then come at a later date. This does happen in government, Steve, and there could be lots of reasons for why. For all we know, he could have had flu or something. Maybe there's something. Maybe Ken Klippenstein was camped outside his house. I don't know.
Important appointment with my proctologist.
Oh, very funny, Steve. Very.
With a bottle of scotch. Oh, it's all true. I'm telling you. David Grush. So,
let's get on.
So the skiff was derailed by Grush not being able to turn up. The round table was beyond a joke. People telling their science fiction stories. Eric Davis, of course, telling everybody that being visited by several species of aliens. He said, "I even told David Grush all about this. Grush didn't know anything about it until I told him all about it."
All right. I've not actually watched that yet, but I know that Eric Davis was there, Anna Paulina Luna, and Llewellyn on. I haven't actually watched it. I know there's a clip I've seen which Steve's going to refer to, I'm sure.
This has said he's been told by others, So he's been told by others. He's decided to believe that, and he's repeating what he's heard as truth to David Grush. And David Grush has gone, "Oh, Eric Davis is saying it. It must be true."
Well, it's much more complicated than that, as you know. You've seen the other whistleblowers that have come forward.
And of course, none of it is, which is why none of them. That's why Grush ran a mile from the skiff, ran a mile from Arrow.
But see, you think these people, you talk about these people like they don't exist, when you know now, Steve, they do. People like Harold Malmgren, they do exist, and they have spoken out. These are people that you said didn't exist. These are people, all the skeptics. Stephen Cambion was saying that they were basically figments of the imagination of Ross Coulthart and David Grush. They didn't exist outside of their minds. And they just fantasize these people so they can grift and make money. And when these people turn up, what do? You raise the bar higher. It's, again, one of my skeptic fallacies.
Anyway, the hearing next Friday. Everyone's waiting with bated breath for this UAP declassification hearing next Friday. Cancelled.
Of course, you can't go ahead without the skiff, can you? Grush has got to get in the skiff and talk about these things privately before you bring Congress into the room and they talk about it publicly. Nancy Mace, Anna Paulina Luna, Jerry Moskowitz, all these people have to be briefed in secret first before they go out there and talk and address it in a public forum. Isn't that obvious?
Due to lack of interest. Now, I don't know whether
you don't know that.
Luna realised that she was being fed a lot of science fiction rubbish at the round table and thought it was completely pointless to have another hearing at Congress about it, or whether she's been told that it's a load of rubbish, it's completely pointless, it's been canned.
Well, she may have. I don't know how she feels about, for example, loose circles. I'm sure you're going to come on to loose circles. I know that.
I don't know. Either way, it's canned. It's not going to happen. I strongly suspect Luna came away from the round table and thought, this is a waste of time. This is just science fiction rubbish. It's going nowhere. I think that's probably what happened.
I don't think so. She knows more than that. She knows an awful lot more that happened at that meeting. However, she may well have felt uncomfortable at that meeting, understandably, with loose circles and stuff like that. But she knows much more about what's going on in there. Her president has put her in charge of the federal secrecy order and its process. And so she's going to carry on through with it.
So that's why it's cancelled. Now, the timeline for a UAP declassification task force, declassification task force was 29th of April, skiff with David Grush, derailed because Grush couldn't make it. He's getting his nails done.
Well, again, Steve, I mean, you're standing on the railway station, your train's late. Trains don't exist!
The most important thing, proof of extraterrestrial intelligent life visiting this planet, and he's got something else to do.
Well, it could be a little something more. I'm sure it's something more serious than that, Steve.
Then on the 30th of April and the 1st of May, there was the round table, which was beyond a joke. Just a complete and utter waste of time. Luna just sat back and lapped up a lot of science fiction rubbish from Eric Davis. The Nordics and the Greys and all this visiting the planet.
Well, what if it's true, Steve? I mean, these creatures have been seen. These species that we identify have been seen. They've been seen all over the world. And the descriptions match, regardless of racial, cultural, geographic background.
He knows because he's been told, just like Gallaudet.
Yes, but we've been told by people who now we know exist. And I've talked about them in my previous UFO disclosure video, which you've seen.
Is that someone trimming their hedge, or have they got a model aeroplane over there? So, and of course, 16th of May was going to be the other congressional hearing, the hearing at Congress, the UAP declassification hearing at Congress. Not going to happen. Why?
Of course not, because we haven't had the skiff yet.
It's the time. Canned. So, I honestly can't say I'm surprised. I've been looking at the way this has been going. And it's very obvious. I think it's very obvious to anybody with an IQ.
Look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't surprise me either, because I mean, I know these things do happen. I know sometimes a meeting can't take place, and therefore that throws the whole schedule off. It doesn't mean it's nothing there. There could be many reasons why that meeting was delayed, why the SCIF meeting was delayed, therefore the hearing's delayed. But it doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Bigger than their shoe size, that there is absolutely nothing whatsoever to this visiting, crashing ET drivel.
There is.
Grush chose to believe Eric Davis without seeing a scrap of tangible evidence to support anything David.
Well, what if David has other sources other than Eric Davis, you know?
This was saying. Grush just lapped it up and repeated it as truth.
Because he's had it corroborated from other sources. He doesn't just believe Eric Davis. I mean, the man in his position wouldn't do that. This is Cambian's theory, you know, that basically Grush is simply repeating what he hears from people like Lou Elizondo and others, and the usual the old TTSA and ex-TTSA crowd, and he's basically just listen to their stories and think, oh, I'll go and ruin my reputation and destroy my career, even though he's only like about 38 or something, and he's got like years ahead of him. I'm just going to throw all that away. I'm going to throw my entire future away by repeating information that I've just heard from these people. Do you really believe that, Steve? Do you really believe that classic skeptic backslapper nonsense about David Grush?
On every social media platform.
And you know what price he's paid, don't you? And you know why he disappeared from Twitter? It's because Ross Coulthard probably warned him to and said, you better get off Twitter, because when you start talking about this, if you don't, there's people out there who'll make your life a misery. Not you, Steve, are kinder to him than a lot of people, I'll tell you.
Television channel he could find that would have him. Now he's hiding under the table. Grush admitted he had no personal experience with ET materials, either technological or biological.
But he knew people who had.
He was only repeating what he'd been told. That's David Grush.
Well, you see, we all, in a sense, have to rely on what other people tell us in many, many situations, right? But we still can discern when people are telling us the truth and telling us the lies. Well, obviously, there are some people who get taken in by con people, but, you know, after a while and knowing our subjects as we do, this wouldn't happen. David Grush is not just hearing what a bunch of UFO amateur pundits are saying. He's talking to people inside his service, inside the military intelligence network. And indeed, we've since I think even since you recorded this video 5 days ago, we've heard more from them, like Matthew Brown. I mentioned already Harold Malmgren. There are many others.
A waste of time that guy is. They all are. Okay. So it looks like the UAP part of Luna's declassification task force is rapidly heading for the waste paper basket. I don't think they're going to bother with it anymore. I think they've had their chance. Done, dusted, new business. Luna's declassification task force is going to concentrate on other stuff.
I'm sure we will. We will remind Steve when it actually happens that he said this, won't we, ladies and gentlemen, viewers?
That she thinks should be declassified. I think she's come to the conclusion. Burleson has come to the conclusion. There's no evidence for any of these science fiction stories. It's all drivel.
If all she heard was what was at the round table, yeah, but that's not all. That's not the whole subject.
It's all been it's all been put in the bin, and they've moved on.
Now, Steve, has it occurred to you, Steve, that this process has not been set up for your entertainment? It is a very sensitive, very in-depth, very, very high level and very serious matter that's being discussed in the background. Right? They're not obliged to release information as and when you require because you demand it.
They won't reschedule it. I'll be very surprised if they reschedule it.
We'll see. Oh, it kind of has. Oh, yes, we'll come on to that. I'll come on to that later because it has kind of been rescheduled. But let's Steve carry on for now.
So yeah, they just screwed it up, put it in the bin, and moved on. This UAP thing is unraveling across the board. You know, I found out that Gary Nolan, you know, of ET's looking through his bedroom window for weeks on end, standing around his bed every night for weeks on end fame. You know, and then well, it could have just been a dream. You think?
There's a difference between ET contact and oh god, what a horrible still. Yeah, there's a difference between ET contact and a dream. I mean, it's actually a guy called is it David Hodrian's brother? I think it's what's his name? I can't remember his name now, but Dave Hodrian's brother is a research psychologist and did a PhD study into this whole thing, and he's released an entire paper explaining why ET of contact abduction experiences are not dreams.
I think he's repeated that since. And of course, there was the other occasion when he was an adult. He was about to start his job as a professor at Princeton. Alien appeared in his bedroom, spoke to him telepathically. Didn't tell us what it said, how it could speak English.
Well, people tend to hear them speaking whatever language you speak, because they have a mind-to-mind communication kind of thing.
Maybe that was another dream, eh, Gary? Oh, well, just a dream, just another dream. He must have had, when he said they were there for weeks on end around his bed when he was a kid, he must have had a recurring dream, the same dream every night for weeks. Gary Nolan. Anyway, he's bailed out of the UAP Disclosure Fund.
Is he? Not so sure about that.
Along with Lou Elizondo. Now, I don't know whether Lou Elizondo bailed out or he was asked to leave after he presented the irrigation circles in fields as a large flying saucer.
Now that was unfortunate. That was unfortunate, actually. Let's just have a look at the details here. Right, let's go to my notes. I'm going to skip a bit this video actually in a minute, but let's just have a look at. Let's try and find this. Lou, I did cover this. I did actually cover this. Here we are. Now, Lou had contact with a civilian pilot who's a light aircraft pilot who showed him this image here and said, look, this is this alien. It's a flying saucer hanging low, casting a shadow on the ground. And Lou he took that. He had no way of verifying at the time. He decided to present this picture without, which maybe on reflection he shouldn't have done. Because as you can see, this is an irrigation circle. What these things are, you actually see them in some parts of the world, especially in the, if you go to Google Earth and look at parts of the Western United States or the Middle East, you'll find like farmers' fields that are circular. And the reason is because there's a well in the middle which pumps water up. And then there's like a large pipe, which actually runs on a track around this circular field. And the pipe actually is literally, it's like a boom, which runs along this track. The end of it runs along this track, and it circles round and round and round, just distributing water to the ground. That's how it works. Now, as you can see here, there are these two circles. These are two of the examples. One is kind of fallow, and the other has stuff growing on it. And that's what Lou was shown. He decided to present that, which on reflection, I'm sure he'll admit was a mistake. But if you go to his Twitter, he has, people sort of say, well, silly old Lou this, Lou that, and the skeptics are having a field day. There's no end of memes about it. But really, at the end of this, Lou apologized unconditionally, and he just said, look, I made a mistake, and okay, I shouldn't have said that. And I think it's very well summed up by my tweet here. I'll show you. If I can get this, if Twitter will load. Oh, look, see. I had no idea Richard D. Hall wrote children's books. Everyone is a disinformation except me and my three friends. Just joke there. Where is it now? Let's go down here. Where was it? A few days ago. Happy Mother's Day. I thought that was good. Okay, I can't see it now. Where is it? Oh, here we are. Right. This is my tweet here. Look, Lou has apologized consistently. Move on, skeptics. And Lou just made a video, which I showed you in the last UFO disclosure video. Okay, guys, I'm back. What it was, I found it in the end. I found the source. It was actually here on. I went to Psychoactivo. This guy here, Pavel, he does this YouTube channel called Psychoactivo, which is actually pretty good. And he said this: Burleson confirms David Grush's skiff briefing with Arrow and defends Lou Elizondo. And this is the audio version. That's Matt Laszlo here. So there you go. You can listen to that there. And so this is basically what Steve Mumbling said wouldn't has happened. So there, Steve. Yabu sucks to you. Anyway, and there's more here. Look, I'll show you more here because this guy's worth following actually. He's done another video here. Where is it? I haven't watched this one yet. Here we are. UAP Dark Week turns light as Dr. Eric Davis briefs UAP caucus members in a skiff. And there's more. See, this guy who's quit the UFO Disclosure Fund, Dr. Gary Nolan, he's still active. He wonders about the ethics of patenting UFO tech and harming the aliens. You see, and this is Matthew Brown here, which we've just been talking about. And then of course he mentions the Lewis circles, of course, which was a problem, and then it goes on to there. I think some of you people expect miracles, or skeptics especially expect miracles from everyone. Anyway, let's go back to Stevie, shall we? Let's go back to old Steve. What's he got to say now?
Sir, bear in mind, he's telling us, he's their top man. He's their top man, their top investigator. And he can't tell the difference between irrigation circles in a field, a reflection of a chandelier on a window, photograph of a reflection of a chandelier, and he's their top man, the top UFO investigator. He can't tell the difference between those and an alien mothership, a huge flying saucer. So it may be that the UAP Disclosure Fund has asked Lou to step down. Now, I don't know that's true.
Could be.
I certainly would. If that was me, I would have said, look, mate, you've got zero credibility. We're not paying you for any more of this nonsense. Have a good life. Next caller, please. Surprisingly enough, Matt Ford died in the Wool fanboy, from the Good Trouble YouTube channel. He's left the UAP Disclosure Fund as well. These people bailing out. So what's the UFO Disclosure Fund not paying them anymore? So something's going on behind the scenes at the UAP Disclosure Fund. There's trouble in paradise. They're only asking for $1 billion, the UAP Disclosure Fund, so they could disclose something that's not there to be disclosed. But it will cost you $1 billion to find that out. Well, there's nothing there to disclose. We tried.
Well, how come, Steve? I've asked you this question before. For something that doesn't exist, governments don't seem to be interested in it. They seem to talk an awful lot about it, and they spend a lot of money investigating it. Get a lot of people to come around talking about it and keep talking about it and talking about it again. It's like it's like weird. They're sort of saying these things don't exist. They don't exist. All right. But here's another expert to come in and tell you they don't exist, and there's another one coming in to tell you they don't exist, and this one person says they don't exist, and there's nothing to be seen here. Move along. So we're going to just leave this alone now because they don't exist. Oh no, next year we're going to have another study to come along and conclude again that they don't exist. Who are they trying to persuade, Steve? They're not sure. Are they trying to persuade us or themselves? It's almost like these people who keep in authoritarian regimes. You always get these leaders who come on and keep telling everyone that they're free. If they were, they wouldn't need to keep saying it. It's like UFOs. If UFOs didn't exist, there would be no need to keep repeating the fact that they don't exist. And you're one of the people who does. I know you're just repeating these things that you hear, but you're one of the people who keeps saying over and over again they don't exist.
Well, they would have bought their nice houses in the hills with the magnificent views, and all this sort of stuff.
But you can get by far easier. You can get far more money by far easier means than talking about UFOs.
Oh dear. So the UFO Disclosure Fund. This is a fairly new one on me.
No, that's different.
I've only recently heard of this, but I saw another thing from this UFO disclosure outfit. A woman called Anna Brady Estevez.
All right, I'm going to skip this next bit. It gets a bit boring from now on. But the UFO Disclosure Fund, it's a thing run by Danny Sheehan, is something I actually have donated to, and I'm proud to do that. I'm glad I did. I'm very, very glad I did that. So we'll go forward to 15 minutes now. We'll go forward 15 minutes because I missed that bit. Cause it's here we are. So about there, and we'll start the video again here. Okay, here we are.
They've obviously hired this woman because she's a good talker. She's good at convincing people to put money in the pot.
I'll get forward.
Where the money is going.
Okay.
I think I could be wrong, but I think Ms. Estevez thinks people and sinker because nobody is. There is not one alien being poked with a fork anywhere on Earth.
Did you see my Reddit scientist videos? I did 2 of those Reddit scientist videos, Steve. Did you see them?
is looking at his crashed flying saucer, as I've said before. Crashed flying saucer, it's probably going to be a scout craft. It's not going to be this far out. If this was happening at all, there'd be a mothership that would collect it. They would collect
Well, maybe there is. You don't know. It could be like parked on the far side of the moon where no one can see it. That's the perfect place, isn't it? It's very close to the Earth. In fact, right next door in cosmic terms. And it's one of the few places in the universe that cannot be seen from the Earth's surface for a reason other than sheer distance.
colleagues. They're not going to leave them here to be poked around. They're not going to leave their technology here to be examined by us.
Well, you don't know that. So for all we know, that there's signs that sometimes these things are just about. Don't crash. They're just kind of parked, as if they're gifts. Although again, that's anthropomorphizing. We don't know that's what the aliens are thinking.
And you think these people would be reasonably intelligent. They'd be capable of critical thought, but that doesn't appear to be the case.
Well, they'd have to be. They have to be very high-tech civilization. But again, Steve, there are species on our own planet, dogs, cats, etc. They say and do things we don't necessarily understand. Well, they don't say things, but they do things that we can't necessarily comprehend, and vice versa. There's a lot we do that they couldn't possibly comprehend. These are species on our own planet. Now, it's possible we're missing something simply because possibly there cannot be a meeting of minds between us, and they're doing it for reasons that, well, are possibly beyond not just things they haven't told us, things maybe they don't tell us because we couldn't understand.
I mean, she's a PhD in something or another. I mean, get a PhD, you've got to be reasonably smart.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes with your average X-ray porter, and I know this for a fact. Actually, they sometimes look at me and they think, "What's he on about? Why did you do that? Why did he say that? That Ben is a bit weird." They do that because they're X-ray porters, and I'm a human being. See, it's the difference. They are, we people like me, we're sort of like we've reached the sort of pinnacle of human evolution, whereas your average X-ray porter is sort of like he's just struggling up from the amoeba level, basically.
Even if it's in origami, Anyway, begging for cash for what is inevitably going to turn out to be the TTSA 2.0. They may very well suck in a load of money. Nothing will be produced. No findings will be made with regard reverse engineering or analysing ET biological or technological material. There's none here. And then this UAP disclosure fund, as soon as the money stops trickling in, it will just disappear in a puff of smoke. Oh, sorry, we fully intended to get it disclosed. Of course, there's nothing to disclose. It's never going to happen. All that's going to happen is this UAP disclosure fund will disappear up its own exhaust pipe with all the donations. That's all that's going to happen. TTSA 2.0.
Oh, well, the TTSA was a bit of a disappointment, wasn't it?
Yeah, hell put off and Eric Davis. We can build your Starship. Yeah, we pop down the hardware store, get a couple of buckets.
Well, the thing about the TTSA, it's kind of lost its energy now because the people who really counted, all the people who really mattered has left, and that's essentially Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo. They both buggered off. They jumped ship, and maybe they were right to jump ship. I mean, maybe this was something that it's not. I mean, they were going to build this Starcraft, weren't they? Whatever they called it, a Starcraft. I forgot the name of it. It was going to be some kind of free energy device, and they're trying to get investment for that. Now, I didn't give them any money. I did not donate any money to that particular cause. You'll be glad to know. But I just like to give people the benefit of the doubt. By the way, you may be wondering what these things are behind me. All will be explained. This weird thing behind me. All right, so just in case you're wondering, let's go back to Lou. Not Lou. Steve. He's not Lou Elizondo.
Job, get some Recaro seats. Need some electromagnets probably. Big elastic band and a couple of trees. We'll get you to the nearest star in no time. Crash helmet, of course. Eric Davis had elbowed off. Oh dear. Yeah, TTSA will produce a Starship with your money. It was obviously a scam. Nothing happened. No Starship. No evidence. No nothing. All it did was burn up people's money. Actually, it was a pretty good magic show because it made a lot of people's donations disappear. Who was their chief accountant? Mandrake.
Oh, my sides.
Oh dear. Ms. Estevez doesn't seem to grasp that there's zero exist. It's nothing in nature is free.
Where was the
researching free energy? You can get money for doing that for the rest of your life. You're never ever going to get to the machine that produces free energy. And as I've said before, if it was possible, which it isn't, Musk will have his team doing this. He would have got a working thing, and he'd be selling them or renting them with maintenance contracts all over the world.
You made that point in the last video, which you made that point in the last video, which I watched by accident. I didn't actually mean to watch that, but yeah. So it's
apparently people have found a way of manipulating gravity. Yes, well, we're going to have to see evidence of that. If someone's found a way of manipulating gravity, that's Nobel Prize stuff. Why aren't they screaming it on every news channel? Someone's been able to do that and they've been awarded a Nobel Prize.
Because they tend to fall off trains, eat poisoned food in restaurants, or what was it happened? What was it happened to Eugene Malov? Get mugged. Brewster Palmer got shot in a mugging. Apparently, nothing was taken from him. That's why you don't see these things on the news, Steve.
Because it's bullshit. It's another one of these free energy, anti-gravity. All of this is science fiction rubbish. As I said before, you might get people that will knock up a few theatrical props for people that might donate, especially high worth people, to go and look at. Because they're not scientific people, they're not engineers usually. They'll look at that and they'll see laser beams reflecting all over the place, things spinning around. And they'll go, oh wow, I can see this is going somewhere. And of course, it isn't. It's a theatrical prop that looks impressive to get your money. So, no one's demonstrated communicating using quantum entanglement.
Oh, you know what? Steve, I've got to show him the video. Where is it? Where was that video? I was looking. It took me ages to find this, actually. I'd forgotten all about it. Let me just go to this. Let's go here. It took me ages to find this. Here we go. I made a video about this, didn't I? Which one is one of the ones with Simon Holland? A Signal from Space. It was either that one. Where was it? Well, it was one of these. I think it was A Signal from Space. I think it was this one, Steve, where I give an example of these scientists. I think it was at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, who actually did find a way to. Have I grown bigger in the frame? I don't know. Maybe the settings changed on the camera without me knowing. Anyway, you could actually they listened to music played through a beam through a foot-thick lead shield, and it had actually moved to the other side through quantum tunneling. So, Steve, it essentially has been proven already.
No one's demonstrated it over 10 kilometres on Earth. I don't think it's even been demonstrated over a foot in a lab, has it?
Well, it has, Steve. I've just been talking about it. I mean, have you not heard of this?
Communicating via quantum entanglement. That's intelligent information going in one end and the same information coming out the other end.
Yeah, it was music, but yes, these scientists did manage to transmit information through simply through means of quantum tunneling. Yes,
communicating. So, as far as I know, that has not happened. And again, that's Nobel Prize stuff. It's all science fiction drivel.
Well, maybe those people will win a Nobel Prize, because there was nothing secret about that. I mean, according to Simon Holland, the guy you call hogwash, this has already been achieved, communication with extraterrestrials that way.
And most of this comes from our old mates Puthoff and Davis. They're both knocking on a bit now. So if these two drop off the perch, is that going to be the end of all this science fiction nonsense, or is it going to be perpetuated by people that can see that there's a cash opportunity there? And there's people out there that are gullible enough to put money into this complete and utter drivel.
Again, Steve, if these people are con men, as you say, they're both pushing on a bit. During the course of their lifetimes, they would have surely found more lucrative ways of getting more money out of more people. And why have they stuck to UFOs and aliens and paranormal stuff for their whole careers? Hal Puthoff has been doing this since about, I think he started in 1970, didn't he, with the SRI experiments? And I mean, he's been doing this for 55 years, Steve. If money was all he wanted, God, he could have been painting over the rust on used cars. He could have been like cooking books in some office somewhere. Why is he stuck to UFOs and aliens all these years, Steve?
Now, I saw, what was it, the Jaime Maussan aliens?
Jaime Maussan, yeah.
I think I've got a page out of my... Oh, yeah. So...
This is where we come to the things behind me.
Apparently, the Nazca tridactyls...
Oh, no, not that. No.
The tridactyl mummies was having a look at some images of these things and
All
some
right.
X-rays of them and skeletal
Go forward
remains
a little bit.
and interstellar spacecraft and all the intricate systems that would go on it and everything else. You need physical dexterity.
All right.
Musan,
No, he's
next,
talking. Basically, he's talking about the Nazca mummies, which I know are fake. All right, I've spoken to Steve Mera. This actually came up in Contact in the Desert last year, if you remember. I had this debate with this bloke who was later interviewed by Patrick on Vetted. He believes they're real, and I believe they're not. And I only know this because I spoke to Steve Mera. But anyway, I'm going to skip that bit.
caller, please. Apparently, there's a Colombian alien ball.
Here we go.
I don't know whether this is anything like Ross Coulthard's Texas alien ball that seems to have mysteriously disappeared.
That's like the Bet sphere. Yeah. Oh, the ball. That's the ball that rolled along the ground. Yeah, that Coulthard was talking about. Yeah.
It's exactly 50 pounds. CTs use, of course, terrestrial imperial weights and measures when engineering artifacts. Hey, Ross. Apparently, this ball has been found. It's got some jazzy patterns on it that suggest it came from outer space or something. They saw it flying around. And
Come on, I'll tell you more about that's basically what is behind me in this picture. I'll tell you more about that in a minute.
apparently, it's cold to the touch, but if you pour water on it, it evaporates, and you can heat it up with a blowtorch to 400 degrees. Doesn't get hot. You can touch it. Of course, we don't see this demonstrated. They say they don't see how the thing's put together, but it's got a band around the middle of it, like a cricket ball. Oh, come on, really? Really? You know, so... And I think, doesn't Jamie Musan have something to do with the Colombian UFO ball as well? Really?
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
this is
of course he
utter
does.
Rubbish. Complete and utter waste of time. So, oh, and of course, this ball won't be handed over for analysis. Some scientists in Colombia have X-rayed it, and they say it looks a little strange.
It's got these
So the guy that owns it
balls
won't hand
inside
it over for analysis. Next call, please.
Right. Okay. Let's have a look at this in more detail. This is what we're talking about, the boogosphere. It's the thing behind me. It's this thing here. Now, this is a bit strange how this happened. I mean, there's several sources. I mean, if you go to the good old current bun, if it will open, this is. Oops, get out of the way. The problem is these newspaper websites are just infested with ads. Scientists studying the UFO orb that landed in Colombia claim the mysterious object is alien after scanning it with X-rays. And they found these little microspheres inside it. Now, this is a strange thing. It's roughly the size of a basketball. It's metal, but that's all we really know about it. And it has these things inside it. We don't know that much about it, except they've gone on to the circles again. Poor old Lou. I can show you these pictures of it. If I can see it behind me, it was just sort of. I think it's the picture I've got behind me. What happened was it was a couple of months ago. Actually, I remember this. There was a very, very brief. And that's not quite the same now. There was a very, very brief hoo-ha in the media about this, because over the town of Buga in Colombia, Buga, this strange spherical UFO was seen dancing around the sky, and then it came down in a patch of grass and bushes, and some people went over to get it, and then that's the last we heard about it, and it was over. That was the end of it. And then this was published because I wondered at the time. I said, well, what happened to the actual object? What happened when these people ran over to the object? Did they pick it up? Did they take it away? And of course, it turns out they did. And this is these markings weren't apparent on the original footage, which possibly is because the resolution wasn't good enough. But you see here, it looks rather like a crop circle. I mean, maybe a crop circle will appear in a field somewhere with this pattern on it. With this pattern, you have these like crescent shapes and triangle shapes with little circles in them. Around there's these strange symbols in a circle around it. It looks like Klingon or some of the languages from Star Wars. And right in the center, you have what looks like a chip and pin thing from a credit card. Now, what these things are, I don't know. There's people who claim to have deciphered this writing. I don't know how the hell they did that. But Jaime Maussan has, of course, got involved in this. Here's some pictures. Here's some of the scientists studying it. And of course, just because scientists study things doesn't mean that they're the real thing. It doesn't mean it's the real thing. I mean, I'll probably cover this in more detail nearer the time when we have more information about it. But I mean, Patrick has covered it on Vetted. The ball appears to be in two halves. There's no rivets connecting the two halves together. So it's very different from those monolith things that appeared, if you remember those. Those are obviously artificial. They're obviously man-made objects. Now, but you can actually put two halves of a sphere together through. I think you do it through cryo welding or something like that, where you freeze it down and then it expands back to its normal size inside the other object. And it's like sealed. It's called cryo welding or something like that. But it's. I'm just looking at the picture behind me right now. I'm afraid I think this is probably fake. It's probably a hoax. I mean, you could make this up in some machine shop somewhere in a couple of days. That's my guess. And Jaime, of course, has jumped on it. And the thing about Jaime is, like, people often say this about Jaime. You know, when I was interviewing Philip Mantle about the Roswell slides, if you remember back in 2015, there were those slides things that were appearing in Mexico. And he says, I think it's really a bad idea getting Jaime involved in this. I think they should have kept Jaime away from this. And the thing is, though, right, well, if you want to keep Jaime Maussan, keeping Jaime Maussan away from something like this is more difficult than it sounds. I mean, if you want to invest in £4 million flood defences and a column of fully armed tanks, that's what it would take. Because Jaime Maussan is like a force in nature. I mean, his enthusiasm is absolutely famous. And unfortunately, his enthusiasm outstrips his common sense by several degrees of grandeur. So yeah. Anyway, well, I'll find out. We'll find out more about what this thing is later. My guess is it's not real. I think almost everyone I know in the UFO sphere is doubtful about this. So let's go back to. It's nearly finished now, thank goodness.
And the other thing too is, of course, that what made them think it was safe. You know, got this mystery ball. What made them think it was safe to bombard with X-rays? How did they know that it wouldn't just explode in their faces as soon as they?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's a good point. I mean, they're not wearing protective clothing or anything. You saw the man holding. He's basically got. You see, he's got his bare hands on it, hasn't he? It does make you wonder, because I wouldn't do that with something like that. You don't know if it may be giving off radiation. It may have toxins on it. It may have microbes from some alien planet which like get inside you and grow and then burst out of your mouth or something like that. You don't know.
They hit it with the high intensity X-rays because they made it in a shed somewhere.
Yes, unfortunately, this is one of those rare occasions when I have to agree with Steve. That's the most likely outcome, I think.
Yeah. What else? We're running out of time here. A couple of minutes left. Another anonymous whistleblower with only 8 months to live.
Oh, him. Oh, I don't think much. I know who you mean. I don't think much of that guy. He's this anonymous Redditor or 4chaner. I don't know much.
Spruiking more science fiction rubbish with zero provenance, zero tangible evidence. Put a line through this guy. I can't remember his name. Actually, no, he's anonymous, isn't he? Of course, yeah.
And Patrick did a good analysis of him and explained why he thinks this guy's not for real.
He's an anonymous. Wow, look at the shadow of the camera. That's because the sun's reasonably low.
He's very different to this Reddit scientist I told you about, the one who claimed to have worked on alien bodies. This is someone who clearly doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, so anonymous whistleblowers, complete waste of time. Any whistleblowers at all should have their stories verified by Arrow before they present it to Congress or anybody else.
No, well, I don't agree, Steve, for that, because Arrow, I mean, it's like you're saying, well, you've got to verify it with this particular setup that's been designed to identify and deal with whistleblowers as they appear, and it's kind of a lure. The fact that we want to investigate UFOs, it's just a lure it's just bait in the trap. I wouldn't go to Arrow if I had something like that.
They're all fake whistleblowers. They all know they're fake. They all know it's rubbish. And just finally, the Russian spacecraft Cosmos 482, the failed Venus probe, has crashed in the Indian Ocean,
It did, yeah.
just to the west of Jakarta, according to the Russians.
Oh dear, I lose my bet. As I explained on a previous video, I put a bet that it will land on the headquarters of William Hill. William Hill offered me 50,000 to 1, and so I'd become very rich. I put a tenner on. I'd have become very rich if I'd won that bet. The problem is the organisation would no longer exist, so I couldn't collect my winnings.
Apparently the European Space Agency say that's not the case. They're not quite sure where it's gone. But I haven't seen anyone on the news in remote parts of Western Australia or the Northern Territory wearing an 8-foot-wide crash helmet with CCCP on it. So
SSSR. Yes, that's how you pronounce it. These are letters. It's not C. These are not letters from the Latin script. They're letters from the Cyrillic script. SSSR. I can't remember. I wrote down what that means somewhere because I was learning Russian.
So I'm inclined to think it probably did go in the ocean.
Yeah, it is. I'm just going to be like a nerd, and I'm going to prove Steve wrong. There we go. It stands for Soyuz Sovietsky Republik. Anyway, yeah, that's as close to. I gave up on my Russian, mate. I gave up on my Russian. Anyway, go on then, Steve.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's it. So, as always, if you've struggled through the video all the way to this point, many thanks for watching. And maybe, if there's more exciting news about fake whistleblowers and people losing interest in the subject and bailing out of organisations.
I've lost interest in you, Steve, but I do have one more video, this one, which we're going to look at now. Right, guys, now we're on to our third video by Steve Mumbling. It was going to be the second, but I thought I'd do that, but I'll just have a look at the comments underneath. I think it looks like it's more the same here. I've already replied to some of the points here, but this is David Young, David Smith again here, Rick Sampson, etc. But anyway, let's hear what Steve had to say. And this new one is, again, he's gotten down almost exactly to half an hour. He's got a timer, so let's have a look here.
Well, hello again. Need to be able to see the top of my hat. Unlike all of the ETs here, piffle peddlers, I do not talk through the top of it. I do not talk through the top of my hat, nor do I sound muffled because I'm wearing thick woolly underpants.
You sound very muffled. You sound muffled and incoherent, I'm afraid, Steve.
Okay, so Luna's classified information disclosure program has pushed visiting ETs to the bottom of the pile. As I've said before, I think they've been told behind the scenes that there's nothing to it. It's all rubbish, science fiction drivel.
Well, I've already been through that.
I think they've heard the inside story. And the inside story is there's nothing to this. It's drivel. Something I did notice that I thought was interesting, and that is that, they're looking at JFK and they're looking at MLK, they're looking at 9/11, all these famous sort of conspiracies. What they're not looking at, and it hasn't even been mentioned, is NASA faking the moon landings.
Yeah, they haven't. That hasn't come up. Yeah, and that's one. I think that may be a step too far at the moment, even for Trump. I think he's got to ease us into the cold bath gently in this situation, and I think putting that in the first wave of federal secrecy disclosure orders would be a bit much, Steve. But you bear with him. I mean, who knows what could happen in the next 4 years? You might be eating those words like you've eaten so many others over the years.
Now, why do you think that is? It's too ludicrous.
No, I've just explained why it is.
Even consider. That's why that is. It's too ludicrous to consider that NASA would have faked the moon landings. I've said this before. I use this as a litmus test for intelligence. Gullibility. I'll ask someone, do you believe NASA faked the moon landings? And
yeah, so do I, Steve. So do I. I use that as a litmus test for gullibility and intelligence. And
say yes, I put a line through them and don't bother interacting with them.
Yeah, I do the same when they say no.
Of time. Now, it'd be interesting if they do get to the 9/11 story, because that will show that whatever happened exactly as the history books tell us. It wasn't an insult.
No, it won't. No, it won't. No, you see, I mean, well, it depends. I mean, it depends on how honest and how honest the people involved are. And I think Trump and his inner circle are honest, but they've got to deal with people in the military intelligence network who are doing everything they can to fight Trump. You mustn't realize there's a secret civil war going on in the United States right now. It's on a political level, although there has been attempts at wet work, as we know, such as at Butler and at the golf course in Florida, and there's been other examples too. But it's still going on, so there's no guarantee this is going to work, as I explained on previous videos. But this is a step in the right direction.
Side job. There were no explosives. There was no thermite.
Well, exactly. There were no explosives. There were no thermite. I'm the first to admit that the buildings were not demolished that way. I mean, and the skeptics will say, "Well, how did they put the explosives in there then?" You know how they'll show you videos of people like demolition experts rigging a block of flats for explosions. They drill holes in the supporting columns and they stick dynamite in there, and they have to have loops of wire everywhere, and it all has to be connected to one of those plungers. You go like that, and it blows up the building, right? That's saying, well, how could they do that in a working building? There's security guards, there's staff, there's thousands of people working there. How would they get away with that? Well, the answer, that's what the skeptics were saying. It's a good question. The answer is simple. no conventional explosives were used on 9/11 to destroy those buildings. The demolition was done using a method based on what's known as the Hutchison effect. And you've probably seen this, but you know Dr. Judy Wood's book, Where Did the Towers Go? Just read that. It explains everything. It literally explains everything.
Terrorists that hijacked some planes and flew them into the buildings. It's as simple as that. And that's what the any 9/11 files will show.
No, he's a bit quiet. Can I turn him up a bit? No, I can't. I'm on full volume. What about down here? Can I put this volume up a bit? Let's see. He's a bit quiet. I'll put this up a little bit. There we go. All right.
There might be something in there about them being warned that a big attack was going to happen, and they may have had egg on their face. So some of that might be redacted or something like that.
Yeah, that's a sort of conventional kind of conspiracy theory. They say, well, they're trying to cover up the fact they had intelligence failures that allowed Osama bin Laden to crash his planes into the building. There's even like the lie hop theory, which says, well, they turned a blind eye. They turned their back deliberately to let it happen, so that they could then justify the war on terror. But both those theories are fake.
But it's not going to be redacted because they had anything to do with it. It's going to be redacted.
Well, it might be. I mean, not Trump and his thing is the United States is now ruled by an executive and a Congress which is not actually, which has diametrically opposed interests to the national security state.
Due to embarrassment, because they didn't act on any information they were given. Okay, now Mr. Batshit, Steve Bassett.
You bastard! You leave Steve Bassett alone. You're not fit to wipe his shoes. Steve Bassett is a hero of mine. I'll be seeing him in a couple of weeks. I can't wait. Oh yeah, he's someone I really, really look up to, Steve. Never insult Steve Bassett in front of me again.
Assured us that disclosure was coming 30 to 60 days after Trump's inauguration. Now, 60 days were up on the 21st of March. This is Sunday, the 23rd of March. No disclosure.
Well, look, you know the old joke, right, Steve? When's disclosure going to happen? 3 months after you talk to Steve Bassett. I mean, it's an old joke, but it's true. But yes, but you know, Steve, a long time ago, I just thought, well, Steve, this is Steve just being like kind of, you know, he's just being naive, and he's got this idea that somehow you can arrange this to happen from within the system. And for years and years, I didn't really believe him. But there was always like this nagging doubt in my mind, and now I do believe him. And as I said in my previous UFO disclosure video, I've changed the word possibly to very likely in the titles. The 2025 will be the year of disclosure. It may not happen. I didn't say it was going to happen in the first 60 to 100 days of Trump's term. I mean, 60 days. I mean, Steve said that. Steve always thinks it's going to be 60 days in the future. But I think it'll happen sometime within the next 7 or 8 months. Yeah, I'll stake my reputation on saying it'll happen sometime in that period. Before the year is out, we will have disclosure with a capital D. I'm just got that feeling.
Well, you could knock me down with a feather. Who would have picked that? Well, apart from me and everybody capable of critical thinking on the face of the earth. Because there's nothing to disclose. It's all science fiction bullshit. Steve Bassett has been saying this is the year of disclosure. This is going to be disclosed in the next few months, you know, for years and years, and it never happens. It's because he's.
I know it started happening. He started when I first saw him in 2008. He said that, and you know, he said, but it doesn't mean he's wrong. It means he's a bit over enthusiastic and a bit overly optimistic about how quickly this will happen. But things have changed since then, Steve. They've really changed. We now have Trump in the presidency. We have like the entire world is changing. Do you realize how much the world has changed just in the last 5 years? And it's changed primarily for the better, I'm pleased to say.
Fanboy. He believes the Roswell story was the crash of an alien spacecraft.
That's because it was.
Read the statement from Mac Brazel. You know, balsa wood, sticks, rubber strips, scotch tape, tin foil. He's not describing.
Yes, this is after they got to him. This is not. He wouldn't have taken balsa wood, rubber sticks, and tin foil, and things like that, and rubber bands. He wouldn't have taken those to Sheriff Wilcox, would he? Why would he go all the way? Because he lived a long way. Mac Brazel lived in a really remote part of near Corona, which is, if you look on the map, it's about 80 miles from Roswell. And this was just after World War II when petrol was very expensive. He went all the way into Roswell with this sticks and balsa wood and tin foil, parts of a weather balloon, to take them into Sheriff Wilcox and say, look, here they are. And he couldn't phone. He didn't have a phone or electricity where he lived. He did all this on his own initiative. A great effort. He wouldn't have done that, would he? I've got this new book actually. Where is it? I'll show it. I just bought this. Here we are, Steve. It's called Roswell: The Truth on Trial. The Evidence Speaks, You Decide. And it is by Christopher A. Johnston, certified civil trial specialist. No relation to Miles. There you are. Quite a thick book too. And you can pause and read the back cover if you can see it. I might do a full review of that at some point, maybe even a read party. Do read that, Steve. You'll find it very, very do read that, Steve. I hope you heard me. Yeah, I hope you heard what I just said. That then you will find it very enlightening. I think. Let's go back to share screen.
Alien spacecraft. Pardon me. Put a line through Steve Bassett, his silly Paradigm Institute. Put a line through Roswell. With the tin foil.
No, I won't. No, I won't. Read this book.
The crash of the tinfoil spacecraft.
It was a cover story.
Here. ET's never been here.
It was a cover story. Mark Brazel was got to. He was paid off. He was bribed to change his story and to go on to Frank Joyce's show and like say, oh no, I was wrong all along. Just like Jesse Marcel was ordered to. Brazel was bribed.
Put a line through Steve Bassett and his Paradigm Institute. Now, apparently Lou Elizondo has agreed to a polygraph. Now, how many? I watch a lot of these real crime programs. How many of these real crime programs do they get they hone in on the prime suspect, and they say, "Would you be prepared to take a polygraph?" And they say, "Oh yeah, fix it up," and then they disappear, and they have to go and track them down and find them. And of course, it turns out that they were the perps. But initially they run away because they know that when they're connected up to the polygraph machine, it's going to show, even though they're not admissible in the court of law, pseudoscience, it will show that they are lying when they say, no, I didn't do that.
Right, so if the polygraph shows that they are telling the truth, would you accept that then, Steve? Carry on. There's a gotcha coming, as you probably guessed.
So I just fired my machine gun randomly, and the guy just ran around in front of the cloud of bullets. It was nothing to do with me. So let's take a wild guess here. It will never happen. Elizondo will never be connected to a polygraph machine. And if he is, the polygraph examiner will be given a whole list of questions that he cannot ask him. He'll be told this is all classified, NDAs, you can't ask him that, you can't ask him that. They'll have to submit the list of questions to Elizondo first, of course. No, you can't ask that, you can't ask that, you can't ask that, and you can't ask that. If it ever does happen, that will be the situation. And of course, Elizondo says because of his security oaths and his NDAs, he can't talk about this and he can't talk about that.
Well, maybe the problem is, I mean, I don't envy Elizondo's position. That is kind of where he is. I mean, this doesn't mean what he said. This doesn't mean he's not. I mean, Ross Coulthard does the same. There's a UFO buried somewhere with a building on top of it. I can't tell you where, but it's. You see, a lot of us are in this situation now. But as I said before, this is not. They're not obliged to. This is not being done for your entertainment. It's not being done for the titillation of UFO Twitter. It's a serious business, which is world changing, and you just got to be patient, I'm afraid. And sometimes you are going to ask them questions. They're going to say, "I can't say that," classified stuff like that.
Yeah, he left his job at the Pentagon to do exactly that, didn't he? So he tells us.
Yeah, I mean, is this a money-making scam? When Lou Elizondo, do you know how successful Lou Elizondo was? He was a top-level intelligence officer at the Pentagon. He'd reached. I forgot the name of his rank, but basically he'd gone as high in the civil service as you can possibly go without it being a political appointment and being elected. He really reached the pinnacle of his career, and he could have he could have gone on for 5 or 10 more years, just nodding his head and shuffling paper and doing as he was told. Then he'd be able to crash out for the rest of his life on a massive pension. He threw all of that away to do what he does now. I mean, he lived in a bloody caravan. His wife was working in Target. It's oh dear. Anyway, let's have a look at I'm just going to show you let's just have a look at some of the comments underneath, because David Smith put a comment here. Polygraphs are bunk, mate. When you think of them, you should think of dowsing or remote viewing. They only work if you believe they work, and the only way they do that is by getting you to confess. That's it. Plenty of docs out there on them. more than a few cases where they caught the killer, gave him a poly, passed, let him go, killed again. And of course, the fire in the sky crowd who passed their famous polygraphs. So that alien abduction must be real. You get the gist. All right. So, yes, David Smith is kind of. I know. I know. I'll actually say this in as many words. I've written a reply to David. See, the thing is, it mentions Travis Walton. Polygraphs work or do not work depending on who is being polygraphed. If it's someone you don't believe in, and you already have a bias that they are telling the lie, then you'll say things like, they're not admissible in a court of law, you know. Oh, they've been found to be very inaccurate. You know, and in the case of David Smith, he doesn't believe Travis Walton had an alien abduction. Therefore, Travis's work colleagues pass their polygraph tests, and polygraphs therefore don't work simply because David believes that Travis Walton was not abducted by aliens. Yet, I mean, and Steve Mumbling, you see, it was also questioning polygraphs because, as he knows, the Travis Walton crew did pass, and so did Larry Warren with flying colours, and Kaz Clark with flying colours. And then suddenly, and now they're all, and now suddenly, you know, polygraphs, you know, they're not that good, are they? They're not a bit inaccurate. But you know, when other people have taken them and failed, Marie Kayali very famously on the Basis Project, suddenly, oh. There you are, you see. They were lying all along, and we proved it because the polygraph said they were lying. It's so selective. Skeptics do this a lot. You know, it's one rule for me, but not for thee.
Elizondo is a fake whistleblower.
No, he's not.
If he's hiding behind NDAs and security oaths, he's a fake whistleblower. That's not a whistleblower, is it? None of these.
No, there's an institution behind him. He's the figurehead for an institution. He's the public relations guy, along with David Grush and Hal Puthoff, for an institution behind them.
These whistleblowers they're all fake whistleblowers. A real whistleblower is someone like Edward Snowden, sorry, not Eric Snowden. He doesn't care about NDAs and security oaths. He's a whistleblower. He'll tell you everything. That's the difference between a whistleblower.
He hasn't told you everything. He's held some things back. Maybe it's some of the same secrets Elizondo is keeping.
And a fake whistleblower. The people that are fake whistleblowers in order to make money. They go on speaking tours and sell books, you know, make TV programs because they know there's enough gullible half-wits out there that lap up all this extraterrestrial.
And again, why didn't Lou sit back, keep his mouth shut, and spend his pension then? Why didn't David Icke stay as a sports commentator? Why didn't Gary Nolan just carry on working as a professor in wherever he was going to be a professor in? Why don't all these people simply do what they're doing already if all they're interested in is success, money, and a peaceful life? This is something that you, Steve, and none of you skeppers can explain.
Terrestrial stuff. E.T. is coming here, you know. E.T.'s crashing here. I've got a flying saucer in a shed in Nevada, you know. They love it. Now, I don't quite know why, but they do. So, you know, Elizondo and co are not whistleblowers. Well, there was something else that I saw a clip of an Elizondo presentation.
That's a bird making noise in the background, which is getting on my nerves. But bird song in Australia is different to that in Britain.
I think that's the crows approving of the new colour scheme. Have you noticed any other colour schemes? The staircases are now raven black. The ravens are loving it. They've stopped crapping all over.
Well, Rhiannon would like that.
Say raven black.
I wish one of them do one on your head.
Okay, so Elizondo says hypersonic vehicles have been tracked on multiple systems. He doesn't say whether these multiple systems tracked the same object at the same time. He just says, oh, it's 5 observables. It's fantastic speed, been tracked on multiple systems. He doesn't say they've been tracked on multiple systems at the same time. He doesn't offer any evidence for this statement.
Well, he can't. Not all the evidence can be published at this point, but some things have been published, and this not just in 2017, but throughout history. There's been so much published. There's been so many witnesses. I mean, this can't be ignored.
You know, because a lot of these systems, you know, you get a system glitch on a ship, you know, and it's transferring its radar data to aircraft. The aircraft are going to see the same glitch, aren't they? So, you know.
But these aren't glitches. These are solid objects. You're getting regular returns off them. They have emission control, or what's not emission control? What is it? Signature management. In other words, they're radiating. They're transmitting themselves. I mean, it's even the Arrow report said that, Steve.
Without any evidence of what he's saying, he makes all these wild claims. Like he showed a picture of a mothership that turned out to be a reflective of a chandelier in a window. You know, he's got no credibility.
Oh, He's apologised for that too. And I mean, again, he makes these mistakes, but I think they are mistakes.
So you cannot take this guy seriously. They do this, they do the 5 observables, but he offers no evidence for any of that. You know, if he shows a couple of video clips that were released in 2017, when he first came on the scene, they're not showing any objects doing anything the F-18s cannot match. There is nothing unusual there.
But look, it's not just I mean, we know there was just a couple of clips. We know that. We know there's more imagery that hasn't been published yet. We also know from Alex Dietrich, from David Fravor, from what's his name? Sean Cahill and the others, we know that these things were observed with, obviously with electronic intelligence that can't be released or hasn't been released yet. But there's too many witnesses who saw them. They saw the Tic Tac hovering above the water. They saw the disturbed water underneath. That's not what FA, and then the maneuverability of the Tic Tac. FA-18s can't do that.
You know, the thing in the distance, you know, and they're talking about it, and they're saying, oh, there's no visible means of propulsion and all this sort of stuff. It's a different temperature to the surrounding sky, isn't it? This is all drivel. Apparently, this is rather disappointing. David Grush, from the security of his rubber room, no doubt.
Oh, fuck off! Don't give me that Ken Klippenstein shit. Honestly, Steve, that's below your usual standards.
He's been hired as an advisor to Luna's task force.
Yeah, he was. That's right.
Complete waste of time, of course. Grush is nothing more than a gullible fanboy. He's told us in the past he's got no first-hand personal experience with any ET materials. He's
not a gullible fanboy. He's a high-level intelligence officer who's dealing with very, very sensitive material. He countered through the course of his duties. He was at the Earth. What was it called? I forgot the name of the agency he was involved in. The Electronics Intelligence Agency, Global Earth Surveillance or something. I forgot what it was called. But he was also at the NSA. You've got to take this guy seriously. He's not a fanboy. He's not like me. You know, he did this for a living. He did this as part of his high-level government job.
Chooses to believe what he's been told, you know, by Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis and others.
No, not just by Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis. You know now there are more people. You know about Mark. You know about Matthew Brown. You know about Cal Malmgren. These names have come forward. Actually, come to think of it, this was a month ago. So I think that's before this all kicked off. So your comments here are not aging well, Steve.
Others. Just recently, Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis have both said they have no first-hand experience working with ET materials. They're just believing what they've been told by others. So you need to drill down, subpoena people, drill down, find who is at the bottom of this.
And it's happened, hasn't it?
Steaming pile of bullshit.
Well, at least Jesse Michaels and Jeremy Corbell have done interviews with these people. So it's happened. But now you're going to rate. I bet you right now you're raising the bar. You're making a video right now where you're raising the bar even higher.
You know, he's just chosen to believe this, and he's peddling it as truth. And again, he's hiding behind oaths of secrecy. You know, he's not.
It's not hiding behind. I mean, these things are necessary. I mean, sometimes this secrecy is necessary. I dealt with secret material when I was a hospital porter. I could have been sued and sacked if I talked about information relating to patients, their conditions, their medical records, etc. David Grush could face much worse if he talks about the defense secrets that he knows about.
Not a whistleblower. He's a fake whistleblower. Arrow tried to get him in to go and talk to them on a number of occasions, and he wouldn't go and talk to them. They said, okay, we'll come and talk to you. And he wouldn't have any of that. He made an appointment and then ran away. He didn't turn up for it. He knows that Arrow is cleared to hear any testimony. He doesn't need a skiff.
Maybe there's many reasons why he might have skipped the skiff. And as you know from Eric Burleson, the representative, he has now entered a skiff. He has now actually been in a skiff, as you just heard. There may be many reasons why he missed the last one. Maybe health, maybe he was ill, maybe he simply fell over and banged his knee or something. There's many reasons why this might have happened. And it's only skeptics and cynics and backslappers who always assume they know the reason why. And it's always something that backs up their worldview every single time.
He knows they're cleared to look into any program in any compartment, and it would take them less than a week to find out that Grush is full of shit. It's all science fiction rubbish. That's why Grush won't go anywhere near Arrow. Now, the interesting thing is that Luna has said she's not interested in hearing any more science fiction stories. She wants to see evidence. So is she going to say to Grush, okay, you're involved with this, let's see some tangible evidence. Let's get Grush and Arrow and Luna and Burchett and Mace all in the same room at the same time.
And it's happened in a skiff. It's happened recently, as you saw from the Psychoactivo podcast. You see, it's all happened here. Look, Burlinson confirms David Grush skiff briefing with Arrow and defends Lou Elizondo. Right. There you are. It's in black and white, Steve. And this was a month ago, so I know we've got hindsight now, but you know, there's several times now. You know, you've made these very, very, very brazen statements, which have turned out to be false.
Then Grush cannot say he's been trying to get an interview with Arrow and they keep ignoring him, because that's his story. Arrow say it's the other way around. If they're all in the same room at the same time, there's no ambiguity there. Luna and co will be able to see Grush talking directly to Arrow, because John Kozlowski will be in the room, and they'll have a chat, they'll fix up an appointment. Or John Kozlowski will ask him several questions that will go on the record in front of Luna and co. Let's try and get this guy pinned down. And when he is, it will be revealed to be rubbish. He'll say, well, you know, this is what I've been told, you know. I don't know anything about it. I've never seen any of this stuff, you know. I've been told. Admiral Galladay, I've been told. You know. Colonel Nell, I've been told. And recently Hal Puthoff. Just look at all the people that are talking.
Well, look, do you expect all these people to be able to walk out to wherever to attend crash retrievals wherever they happen to be in the world? I love you too, Steve. Mwah. He looks like he's puckering up for a kiss. Do you really expect that, Steve? Do you expect these people just to drop everything and say, okay, I'm going to go and attend this crash retrieval in the north of Scotland with the Special Forces unit who deals with this sort of thing? And we've got to be in there, get rid of the material, and be out of there within a couple of days. But we're going to wait a minute. We're going to wait because Colonel Carl Nell, he's flying over from Washington. So hold this operation, ladies and gentlemen. We'll just keep the dog walkers and the hikers away for a bit longer, because we have very important people coming to watch us at work. Be realistic, Steve.
About this, you know. I've been told. Eric Davis, I've been told. By who? Who is at the core of all this bullshit that's telling everybody?
Whom? By whom?
I thought it was Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis.
No, it wasn't. It's other people. There's other people involved in this.
Hal Puthoff, who is it?
Well, we don't know yet, but we know Harold Malmgren. We've been given names: Matthew Brown, Harold Malmgren. These names have come up, right? So in a sense, progress is being made in the very direction the backslappers and the skeptics always said they wanted it made in. They're not happy, of course. They're not satisfied. No, nothing satisfies them. They just raise the bar a bit further. How am I doing? Oh, yes, okay, yeah, right.
Stephen Greer, again, complete waste of time, this guy. Now he's claiming he was responsible for the Phoenix Lights. You know,
be still my beating heart.
the big V-shaped thing that flew over Phoenix, Arizona, was it?
Oh, that is crap. I mean, Greer was not responsible for that. He's just claiming responsible. The thing about Greer is just, it's all about him, isn't it? It's always about him. I summoned the Phoenix Lights with my C5 protocols, man. They were drawn in by my manly smell. Ugh.
It's actually military flares, military base. They were dropping flares that were hanging in the sky.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. That's been admitted. Even the governor of Arizona, Fife Symington, admitted that.
Greer is now saying he was on a flight and he's psionically. Well, it's actually no, C5, isn't it? It's the same thing, different name. C5. Alien contact. You know. He got the alien spacecraft to fly over Phoenix. You know, they can summon these alien spacecraft, you know, full of alien starship full of a starship crew with a starship captain, starship first officer, flown across the galaxy, and they're going to be interested in being summoned by an Earthly. Do you think so? They're being.
Well, again, that's anthropomorphizing, as I explained before. It seems strange because you're basically saying, well, if we went to another planet, we wouldn't do that. If we went to some other planet, we wouldn't make strange markings in a cornfield and abduct some wide-eyed yokel and shove probes up his ass. We wouldn't do that, so therefore the aliens wouldn't do that to us. But again, that is assumption based on regarding the entire universe of being like us and thinking like us, and seeing the world out there, seeing the world the way we do.
Summoned? I really don't think so. You know, what the arrogance of that, you know. And you would think, I've said this in a previous video, but you would think that summoning an alien spacecraft will be significantly harder than summoning a Cessna. You know? So if someone claims this ability, just take them out to a little airport nearby and say, okay, there's plenty of Cessnas flying around, people having flying lessons, you know. Get that one there to zigzag, you know, reach out with it, summon it to zigzag. Because summoning a Cessna to zigzag would be many orders of magnitude easier than summoning an alien spacecraft, I would think.
Well, if you booked it, if you sort of instructed the pilot beforehand to do that, then there are some theories going around that Greer has been doing that. I think you may have heard the famous flare video that's been talked about.
Put a line through Greer, he's CE5, and he's dropping fares out of Cessnas and getting his mates to fly drones around. It's all bullshit. He knows it's bullshit.
We don't know. He's not been caught yet, but there's been a couple of suspicious incidents.
All these people do know it's bullshit. Yeah, and I think Hal Puthoff is now backpedaling like mad. He always used to say, "Oh, yeah, I've been working on spacecraft. I know it's all true." Now he's saying, "I've been told it's true," and I think that's because he thinks he's likely to be subpoenaed. Because remember, he would have told David Grush about this. David Grush, being a gullible fanboy, loves it.
But he's not going to be subpoenaed, Steve. He can't, because remember, these things don't exist. You can't subpoena someone to a hearing to talk about things that aren't real. You see how far you get setting up a hearing for the Tooth Fairy. Do you think you can really hold someone to a subpoena of that? No way. You'll be done for contempt of court. Isn't that true, Steve? These things don't exist, remember?
It all up. And he's going to say, "Well, Hal Puthoff told me about it." So Luna is now thinking, "Okay, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's subpoena Hal Puthoff." And then we get Hal Puthoff in there and he'll say, "Well, I've been told this is what's happening. I don't have any personal experience of it." And I think that's why Hal Puthoff is backpedaling like mad, because he knows if he's subpoenaed by Luna's task force, he will not be able to produce a scrap of tangible evidence to support ET coming.
Well, it was a mistake of him to brag the way he did, but he's better off just being honest. But I mean, he will. If he's got any sense, he'll just go into the hearing and say what the others have said, what Grush, Elizondo, Mike Gold, and Admiral Gallaudet and all those people have said.
Here. He knows it because he knows it's all bullshit, and that's why he's backpedaling like mad. If he finds himself subpoenaed in front of Luna and Co., he'll be able to stand there and say, "Well, this is what I was told." He's not going to be able to stand there and say, "I worked on this ET material. This is where it is. I can take you there and show you." We can get samples, and we can get those samples verified as being extraterrestrial material by 2 or 3 reputable universities.
Well, that's watch patient 17. The physical evidence has been verified. Unless you really clutch at skeptics' straws by saying that someone fell over when they were riding their bike, they landed on a splinter, and it happened to be part of a meteorite. Because that's what they're literally saying. I mean, it's. You see, this is what I mean with the ultimate skeptic raising the bar. Well, it can't be aliens put it there, so it must be. He must have accidentally landed, and by amazing good luck or bad luck, it happened to be a little bit of a meteorite that went into his knee. That's why it's got a different isotopic ratio to minerals found on Earth.
Tangible evidence. He's not going to do that. He's going to wriggle and squirm like they all do. Well, I can't talk about that. It's classic.
Well, sometimes these things are.
That is not blowing the whistle, is it? So I put a line through Hal Puthoff, complete rubbish, drivel. Luna won't waste her time on these people for much longer, I suspect. She's already said she's not interested in any more stories. She wants to see tangible evidence.
I expect Luna is actually feeling a bit. I think she's a bit pissed off with what happened the other day with loose circles and that. And I don't think she's going to go up Trump and say, "Look, Mr. President, please get me off this assignment, will you?" I don't think she's going to do that because she's seen too much else and knows too much else. She was probably in the skiff the other day with Grush, and so, but I think she feels a bit embarrassed by that, which is why she's toned it down a bit lately.
Good for you, Senator or Congresswoman Luna. I don't know what the difference is. I'm sorry.
Congresswoman, she's with the congressional district in Florida. This is why she's always working with Jerry Moskowitz, because he's a fellow Floridian. There are people in the Senate involved as well, Schumer, for example. But it's the House of Representatives, which is a Trump heartland at the moment, is dealing with us
on American politics. So yeah, so someone's looked at. Oh yeah, no, this made me laugh. Someone's used some gadget to look hundreds of meters below the Great Pyramid, the Great Giza Pyramid. That's GIZA.
Ah, yes. Now I've done an entire video. I probably won't say much about this because I have done an entire video about it. And where is it? It was a while ago. What was it? But we did a video about this, didn't we? Where was it? It was a while ago. Jones Plantation. Here we go. JFK Files and Pyramids live stream. Yeah. But let's see what Steve has to say about it. Oh, there we go.
Not Geezer. It's not in East London. The Great Giza Pyramid. Arthur Daly's not charging you 10 quid to go and look around inside it. The Great Giza Pyramid.
Giza, yeah, he's a great geezer.
I want to see some claret on the ground over there, Terence.
That was a good shit. That was a good TV series. Anyone younger than us is probably wondering what the hell he's going on about. Yeah, Minder, that was good.
Apparently, they found hundreds of meters below these structures, big coil-like structures, and below that there's tunnels that go out for kilometers. Now,
they did.
Huge coils, and there's a graphic there showing these huge coils. It's like 4 toilet rolls, 8 toilet rolls. Apparently, they're huge, hundreds of meters tall.
Well, there were two main images. There's the actual scan data. There's the graph from the scan, and there was an artist's impression of what these things might look like. They might look like. Let's have a look. Let's wait for that to close. Right, here we are. Under the pyramid. Under the pyramids. Here we go. I mean, you've seen these if you watch my videos. You'll know. For example, look. This is the artist's impression on this bit here. Now let's just go to this particular. Let's go to this. There we go. You can see it better now. That's the artist's impression of what it might look underneath the Kefren pyramid. This one, and that's the actual scan data. So this is like there's a lot of speculation in this and what it might look like. We don't know. This is what you actually see. There's no way of knowing until we manage to get closer to it.
Giza pyramid. Below that, there are structures, 2 kilometers, 2 kilometers of tunnels and structures and all this sort of stuff. Now, of course, this could always be a misinterpretation by the software. I mean, I've seen the actual, I can't remember what they call it now, ground penetrating radar tomography. I don't know.
No, it's called. I can't remember exactly what it's called either. But it's not ground penetrating radar. This is a big mistake. It is using radar and with the aid of satellites to measure changes, basically vibrations in the structure and in the ground caused by basically the naturally produced sound waves in the earth from like seismic movements and things like that. And these then after a long period of time, that you can build up a kind of sonograph of where the different sound waves go. And that's how this has been gathered. It's not ground penetrating radar at all. Ground penetrating radar can only go down like a few feet. It can't actually see such detail. It's so deep within the earth. Oops, sorry, we go.
With a bias in mind, So the software doesn't look at it and go noise, different texture rocks. It goes, okay, it's told.
Hence the need to process the data, which is what the team from Italy have been doing.
To say, okay, well, if you can see this, and this here, it's got to be a column. It could be something like that. It could be biased software. Now,
well, I mean, the team they're familiar with this software. They've got the next generation as well. They've repeated the experiment with the next generation of systems, including basically the data analysis, and they still say there's something underneath those pyramids, something unusual. Do you watch Project Unity? Old Jay Anderson, he's been covering this in detail. Jay Anderson tweeted the other day. He said, God, I'm just about to watch the X-Files for the first time in my life. And I thought, what? He's never watched the X-Files before. Jay, the X-Files, this is the closest thing we woo-woos have to a creation mythology. This is the first time Jay Anderson's watched it. I can't believe it.
Which could interpret the information from this ground penetrating radar, for want of a better expression, than what is actually there. So it could just be seeing different rock and sand formations and that sort of stuff.
It's
now,
not.
Zahi Hawass, who is
do bear in mind that I mean, this is different. It was actually muography they used, which is a completely different method, but it was proven to work because they found that hidden chamber above the entrance to the pyramid. Remember? So, and that was predicted by the muography scan.
A famous, probably world famous, Egyptologist.
He's a gatekeeper, Zahi Hawass. He keeps attacking Graham Hancock and anyone who contradicts the official stories of anything.
Archaeologist. Says it's all bullshit. Yeah.
But he's got to say that. He always says that about everything. Zahi Hawass is just, he's not exactly unbiased, is he?
And of course, he's right. I mean,
well, he's been wrong about so many other things. Why is he right this time?
Be in Dr. Hawass's interest if this was true.
What, are you
be an awful
kidding?
Lot of money and fame in it if it was true.
Are you kidding? Zahi Hawass he's the Minister of Antiquities in Egypt. His job is to promote the official story of Egyptian history, and any alternative rewriting of that history is to be dismissed and aggressively suppressed.
Of course it isn't. No one's going to be excavating under the Giza pyramid anytime soon. Now-
No, unfortunately they're not, because unfortunately they need the office's permission, and so far he's rigorously prevented anyone, including like people like Andrew Collins and Graham Hancock and people like that, from doing any kind of like serious excavation. Of course, it's going to be impossible to confirm or deny the existence of these columns under the Khafre pyramid without some kind of more detailed study.
They're saying that, with these huge coils and all this sort of stuff, and the structures actually in the pyramid, it's acting as a huge power generator. Now, I've heard this before.
Well, that's one theory, because some people say it resembles a very large, like, Tesla coil.
I've looked at it, and it's complete and utter drivel. And we know, we can say that it's complete and utter drivel with complete confidence due to one single fact. And that is that not one electrically powered device has ever been found at any archaeological site in Egypt.
Well, none that are currently published, but what was in the Baghdad Museum before it was raided? There's the Baghdad battery. All right, I know that's Baghdad, that's in Iraq, not Egypt, but it's from the same time period. What was the Baghdad battery then? What about these other outer place artifacts?
No one's ever dug up a television, or a computer, or a toaster, a George Foreman grill, Sonny Liston toaster.
It's possible that such artifacts wouldn't last that long if they were buried in the ground that long.
Henry Cooper waffle maker. None of this stuff has ever been discovered in any ancient Egyptian archaeological dig site. They just find stuff that was around at the time.
What was the Antikythera mechanism then, Steve? That was found it was from a ship that sunk off I think it was in the somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea, around 2200 BC. Sorry, from about 200 BC. What was that?
Metals that were around at the time. They don't find anything that was powered by electricity. No electrically powered devices.
None that have either survived to the present day or have been allowed to be seen by the public. Be more accurate to put it.
No battery operated scooters. No.
They found the battery. Maybe there was a scooter attached to them.
Portable radios. Two-way communication devices. And that tells us that one single fact tells us that the Great Giza Pyramid is not a power generator. That would be like...
Well, I don't know if I'm not sure it was either, but it's something. It's something more than what we've been told it is, which is just big giant graves. It's more than that.
Building a nuclear power station capable of generating, gigawatts of energy, and not connecting it to anything, just leaving it on its own, surrounded by people living in mud huts or mud brick buildings. Not one light bulb. Not one.
Well, see, some people live in mud brick buildings today. I mean, technology advances at different rates for different people of different cultures in different parts of the world.
It's complete and utter bullshit. So put a line through the Great Pyramid being any kind of power generator, and there being hundreds of meters of coils and everything else underneath it. It's drivel. Okay. So, and I saw something else. This is actual fact. There was a probe that landed, I think it was on the South Pole, near the South Pole of the Moon, fairly recently. And it was a Nokia experiment. And the idea was they were going to have a link between it and Earth, and it would have a mobile phone base station on it, a small one, so that the future manned Artemis mission, that when it was going to orbit the Moon, they're going to orbit before they actually land, will be able to just phone home with a cell phone, because they will be talking to the little base station on the spacecraft, and that will be linked back to Earth, microwave link. And if they put because I think the plan is to land Artemis on the South Pole, because there's water there, they want to look at the potential.
Do you really think that's going to happen, Steve? Really think so?
Putting a lunar base on the Moon. So that the astronauts, while they're there doing their research, they've got their big lunar lander there and all that sort of stuff.
Well, they're prancing around in Area 51, yeah.
They can use their mobile phones, just 4G, just ordinary 4G mobile phone. They can just dial back to Earth. See,
that's the kind of gimmick that makes me think that someone deep down knows that this is just never going to happen. It's that kind of gimmick that makes me question it. As we said in the Apollo detectives,
through the little repeater that's on the spacecraft, the Nokia repeater. Unfortunately, it toppled over, so it couldn't get enough charge on the solar panels, so the experiment is dead. It did last long enough for them to be able to tell that it works. So expect within the next year or so another spacecraft.
Try putting it in a bag of rice.
To go to the same area with a 4G mobile phone, or maybe even 5G mobile phone base station, small base station on the spacecraft with a link back to Earth. I thought that was really quite interesting. Clever stuff, isn't it? And that's real. That's not science fiction bullshit. Let's just hope that the clangers don't keep kicking these things over. Oh dear, they land and fall over. Well, the last two have, haven't they? They landed on the moon and fallen over, which is
Oh, that did happen. Yeah, there was that Israeli one, and then there was that Indian one, and there was that American one too, just tipped over, didn't they?
bloody shame, really. But it just shows you there's a lot of clever people out there, and they're doing a lot of very good thinking.
How lucky that the every single one of the Apollo lunar modules didn't tip over when they landed, eh? It's funny, they have, 55 years ago, 60 years ago, we had a better track record of landing craft on the moon than we do today. And as luck would have it, it was all the ones with astronauts in. So there was no tragedy. Fancy that.
Being able to use 4G on the moon. That's so simple, but so brilliant. I mean, many years ago, I used to do systems on super yachts. And there was one particular. So if you look at pictures of these huge super yachts, I'm not talking about the little bathtub things you see. I'm talking about these big, tens of millions of dollars super yachts, sort of thing you see on Below Deck, And you'll see
the things, of course, which these UFO whistleblowers live on because they've made so much money, haven't they, Steve? Yeah.
Normally got a couple of dome-looking things on, and they're the satellite communication system, and they will communicate with Inmarsat or Inmarsat. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Well, yes, of course, Inmarsat can even tell you apparently a plane that went down in the Indian Ocean when it didn't. Yes.
Used to do this. And you have a PABX, telephone exchange, on the yacht. So you've got telephones all over the yacht, and the guest suites, and have a phone each side of the bed. There's phone in the crew quarters, in the engine room, phone on the bridge, phones everywhere on these super yachts. And the trunk lines on the PABX connect to the SATCOM systems. So you can pick up a phone on the yacht, and you can dial and go through the satellite to anywhere in the world, regardless of where the yacht is. And the satellite dishes in the domes are gyroscopically stabilised. They're connected to the boat's navigation system. They know where the boat's head is pointing, the bearing of it, and all that. As the boat swings around, the dishes remain pointed at the satellite, so the boat can be doing whatever it likes down here. The dishes remain pointed at the satellite. And you can just direct dial anywhere in the world. And they also had a little UHF on one of these boats. They had a little UHF radio system, and you could have a little handheld radio. This is back in 1990, 35 years ago. With a little DTMF keypad, a little numerical pad on it. Okay, little tiny antenna. This is UHF. And that was connected. To the PABX as well, the telephone exchange on the yacht. So, and these yachts, or that particular one, had the side of it opened it up, and had a tender or speedboat come out, taken a skiing, or taken to parties on other yachts, had a mini sun on it. And if they were taken onto an island, so they could sit on the beach and have lunch, under an umbrella, like the sort of thing you see on Below Deck, TV series Below Deck, and they could literally be anywhere in the world, and they could just pick up one of these little tiny radios, and they could just direct dial with this little keypad anywhere in the world. Go back through the UHF radio system, PABX, into the trunk, up to the satellite, down to a ground station, out to anywhere in the world.
I wish Oxford's 4G connection was that good.
Well, that's how that sort of thing works. And that's how this thing on the moon would work. So that's just as
well, I think there may be a few more technical challenges as a result, Steve. I mean, as we've explained before, we've been through that. I'm not going to go through with it you again.
Side. But it's pretty quiet. It's a little bit later. It's about 1:15 in the afternoon, Sunday, the 23rd of March, 2025. And I think that'll do. Take a look at the video I've just put up. Literally 2 or 3 hours ago, I put a video up showing the latest video released by Jake Barber, showing his psionic team psionically summoning an ET craft actually to land within about 50 to 60 feet of where they were standing. That's really quite impressive. And Lou Elizondo is going to be including that as part of his book tour presentation.
What's that then, Steve? Hang on.
And Gary Nolan, of course, will be showing the same video at the Sol Foundation, the Shit Out of Luck Foundation. But you can get a sneak preview right here on this channel, which is the video previous to this one. I uploaded a couple of hours ago. So with that, I'll say, as always, if you struggle through the video all the way to this point, many thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.
What's that? Hang on, this one here. What's this?
Well, hello again. I got a real treat for you here. Now, this is the latest video, hot off the press, that's been submitted by Jake Barber. And you'll be relieved to know that it's been verified as true and accurate by Gary Nolan and Lou Elizondo. So let's just take a look at this.
What? Oh.
Is that what I think it is?
The golden discs.
It's the gold record.
Hey, what's this?
Magnetic walls that will subatomically incinerate.
All right. I think Steve is extracting the urine a bit there. Okay, so that was my reply, my second UFO disclosure reply video to Steve Mumbling, and I think we can safely say we can put a line through everything Steve Mumbling just said. It's a steaming pile from start to finish. PMSL. Thank you, Steve, for your contribution. As of course, despite the fact that I've disagreed with everything you said, if it wasn't for you making these videos, I couldn't make this one. So thank you very much for that. Thank you all of you for watching. There's more coming soon. Hospital Port, as pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.